You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
Olivier, boy, you must be mad. This is the land of milk and honey, rum and coke and easy money. While those verses we were singing, alarm bells kept on ringing. Pundits on each pulpit saying, oh heart and our soul decaying. Suddenly we wake up to a living nightmare, not bliss while electorals ask, how did we ever come to this? But so long you got to stand up and be counted, but daily we're intimidated. Every day our next witness silence, while we recoil from the violence. In our land there is a crisis, broke police, unruly ISIS, while sweet revenge gangs exacting. Police commissioner still acting Trinbago. It's high time we separate the goat from the sheep. Tell them talk is cheap. We're caught in the world when we have to reap, while them police busy playing hide and seek. We're facing the world when we had to reap. Hey, oh yeah, save our land, Trinidad and Tobago. Oh yeah, oh yeah. In our schools, kids getting on, we're fighting, making porn. Our school girls, you won't believe, live MMA, they're pulling weave. Check the vibes, they're living by. Dance all slackness, get rich or die. Alkaline to Movado, mention maestro, they don't know. No morals, no ethics, there is a centrifugal black hole. Lord, we must move quick to wake their conscience and save their soul. So long we've been hearing evil triumphs when good men do nothing. No triggers pump while words be frothin', and while church attendance real low. Protest back plus them casino, while black market prices haggling. Through our ports, big guns they smuggling. Spanish women are hot like their music. Saucy salsa, human traffic, Trinbago. We can't wait. The devil making hay while we sleep. Tell them talk is cheap. We're caught in the world when we have to reap, while we look on them as more mothers who weep. We're facing the world when we had to reap. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, now the nation's soul has been revealed. How they find Shannon Banfield, busy street, yes, in our city. Killed by beasts who show no pity. Now there's fear and trepidation. What is happening to our nation? So I pray this one infraction will propel us into action. Trinbago, the time is now. We have to take our country back while these monsters flow. We cannot run from their attack. That is why I'm still saying, time to stand up and be counted. Our young girls, they're being hunted, not for jobs by institutions, but by clubs for prostitution. While from you gas, some
In search of peace and happiness, the human mind wouldn't rest. A constant nag within we soul, demanding respect from the world. We get the urge in different form, but luxury is the norm. Money is very essential, but can't buy peace of mind at all. We still like dogs without a bone if we have the money alone. Because appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because importance, if we are drive to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously. The feeling has no barrier. Race and class doesn't matter. Once you are alive, you in the game. You do anything to get a good name. Some wealthy men turn to suicide. Can't find food to feed their pride. The aged and crippled in the ring, fight to be like a king. Children become delinquent for lack of love from their parents. That's why appreciation is most important to man. Appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are trying to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously. Solution to bad industrial relations. Employees will gladly draw their pay and do the job half the way. When workman feeling unwanted, the working spirit is daunted. He comes on the job and fool around. Production going down. Just make him feel significant. You get him do anything you want. A pat on the back is the best move for relations to improve. Because appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are trying to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously. Our deepest craving is common. All we need is attention to put us in the happy zone, regardless of what we own. Life is lonely without it. Each one should give a little bit. you want your neighbors to, then life on earth will be true. Take a tip from the scripture. Appreciate one another. Share your love and make the mold for total peace in the world. Appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are trying to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously.
Get up one morning, your elders have something. You don't know how they get it, but you want to use it. But if you ask them old people to get the things what they went through, ask them this any day, and your parents sure to say, black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind, brother, that you're able to get a pulley and jam with the devil. Why? Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind, brother, that you're ready to swim offshore and hold your boat steady. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. So when you're here, you get a little something. With that dragon, now you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man do get nothing easy. Say you get up one morning, and oil money running. How it come you don't know, so that it can how the thing go. But if they read about Uriah, they wanna find out the pressure. How we get so much old hell to get a penny from TLL. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. You got to take up your own cash money, pay people for your own refinery. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. Make up your mind to be a magician, to make money out of scrap iron. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. So when you're here, you get a little something. With the eagle eye, you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man don't get nothing easy. Say we get up one morning, independence happening, getting the thing come easy. Now they're taking liberty, but if they know about petition, we are to send to England for some woman to tell we in this colony free. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. You got to go to conference in England to get independence in your own land. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. People hold you, humiliate you, turn on and sell you, and then they free you. Black man have to keep on jamming, for black man to get a little something. So when you're here, you get a little something. With that dragon eye, you keep watching, because I don't tell you already. Black man don't get nothing easy. when a black man gets something, he got to start thinking. You get it there easy. You got to practice economy. From getting licked from the slave master to become the land owner, brother, is a terrible journey. Back with plenty brutality. Black man now to keep on jamming. For black man to get a little something, you got to rise up, you got to stand up. Make up your mind, you will always stay on top. Black man now to keep on jamming. For black man to get a little something, you got to go to conference in England to get independence in your own land. Black man now to keep on jamming. For black man to get a little something, you got to take up your own cash money, pay people for your own refinery. Black man now to keep on jamming. For black man to get a little something, make up your mind to be a magician, to make money out of.
Nothing must stop you, yes. When God bless a man, Satan may attack you, yes. When God bless a man, he's gonna back you, yes. When God bless a man, that man must stand, he must stand AI. Who God bless, none can curse. His divine favor man can reverse. Can reverse. Even if they do their worst. Their worst. Hey. When God bless a man, nothing must stop you. Yes. When God bless a man, Satan may attack you. Yes. When God bless a man, he's gonna back you, yes. When God bless a man, that man must stand. He must stand, I say. If you answer his call, he will lift you up. If you fall, hey, hey, hey. If you fall, just give him your all. Your all, hey. When God bless a man, should be nobody. Nothing must stop you, my friend. When God bless a man, Satan may attack you, yes. When God bless a man, he's gonna back you, yes. When God bless a man, that man must stand. He must stand, I say, yeah. Satan may attack you. God bless a man. with personal struggle. So sad when you feel alone in your trouble. It's real hard when you want to talk to a brother. It's so bad because of how some look at you after. So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and me. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and me. Cover my head. Satan want me dead. Cover my back from human attack. So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. People see you smile, but don't know the hurt that you're feeling. Even as God's child, at times your heart does be bleeding. Where can you go when you're really looking for healing? Who know how to flow when your soul needs some restoring? So Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover me home from evils unknown. Cover my feet so I'll never retreat. Oh Lord, come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover my brother, cover my sister, them who under pressure. Cover the preacher, every church worker, the young believer. Cover the worship leader and intercessor, every gospel minister. Cover. Jesus alone is the one who has the real answer. The one on the throne is the true and loving Father. He will hold your hand and keep you from going under. He will make you stand and let you know he's a fixer. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Come and be while you fix it. Jesus, come and be. Cover me mind. You know the struggle sometimes. Cover me mouth, that the wrong thing wouldn't come out. Oh Lord, cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Cover me while you fix it. Jesus, cover me. Cover the Christian in the midst of aggression with the power of your right hand. Jesus, cover them helpless children. Jesus, defend them. Send help from heaven. Jesus, cover all them radio stations that blessing the nation. Grant divine protection. Jesus, cover me.
Truer words were never spoken. The less you associate with some people, the more your life will improve. Anytime you tolerate mediocrity in others, it increases your mediocrity. An important attribute in successful people is their impatience with negative thinking and negative acting people. As you grow, your associates will change. Some of your friends will not want you to go on. They will want you to stay where they are. Friends that don't help you climb will want you to crawl. Your friends will stretch your vision or choke your dream. Those that don't increase you will eventually decrease you. Consider this. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Never discuss your problems with someone incapable of contributing to the solution, because those who never succeed themselves are always first to tell you how. Not everyone has a right to speak into your life. You are certain to get the worst of the bargain when you exchange ideas with the wrong person.
Don't follow anyone who's not going anywhere. With some people you spend an evening. With others, you invest it. Be careful where you stop to inquire for directions along the road of life. Wise is the person who fortifies his life with the right friendships. If you run with wolves, you will learn how to howl. But if you associate with eagles, you will learn how to soar to great heights. A mirror reflects a man's face, but what he is really like is shown by the kind of friends he chooses. The simple but true fact of life is that you become like those with whom you closely associate, for the good and the bad. Note, be not mistaken. This is applicable to family as well as friends. Yes, do love, appreciate, and be thankful for your family, for they will always be your family, no matter what. Just know that they are human first, and though they are family to you, they may be a friend to someone else and will fit somewhere in the criteria above. In prosperity, our friends know us. In adversity, we know our friends. Never make someone a priority when you are only an option for them. If you are going to achieve excellence in big things, you develop the habit in little matters. Excellence is not an exception. It is a prevailing attitude.
Let me say a special hello to all the WZYE 95.9 FM listeners. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's no other than In the Village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And of course, we come to you every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. That's Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, In the Village with the DAT Triplets, we originate, we don't imitate. It doesn't matter what color t-shirt you have on. You have on a salmon t-shirt, a burgundy t-shirt, a blue t-shirt, a pink t-shirt, a mauve t-shirt. You're welcome in the Village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And of course, it doesn't matter what planet you come from. You're from Mazatanius, Venuranius, Xenuranius, Sonuranius, Saturnanius, any planet you come from, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome in the Village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. And of course, for the new people, if you don't know who, what, why, it's called the DAT Triplets. That's DAT. Yes, DAT. The D is for Diana, who is considered to be the storm. The A is yours truly, Anselm Born or Wall Street. And of course, the T is for no other than Thomas E. Nisbet, who should be joining us shortly. Let me say a pleasant welcome to no other than Diana, Waveney, Stormy, The Storm, Benskin, Greta, some say Greta, from St. Augustine, close to Tunapuna, by way of St. Catherine's in Barbados, just outside of another street that we wouldn't call tonight, no other than Diana Waveney, the poetess, the poetress, Benskin McDonald boy.
Oh, you get back your laptop, so you get in trouble tonight.
Yeah, I got my laptop. Things good.
I will have to have a conversation with Mrs. LeBon and not your wife, your mother. But anyway, I just want to say yes, thank you for being in the village. And Anselm is out of the naughty corner, so he's here today. You know the song you play, Black Man Don't Get Nothing Easy. You see, you saying about money gone, right? Faster than he could run.
I see that, but you go get it back, man. You go get it back.
I pray to God he does. Yeah, faster than he could run.
Yeah, but 12.7 million US.
Oh boy.
There's a few billion.
But let me tell you something. These scammers, they're good. I had a call earlier today, and No, I know. I opened up an email. I opened my email and I saw an email from some place, Geek Squad or something, say that they service my computer, which is a lie. So there was a phone number. So I said, okay, I'm going to call this phone number. I just want to hear. So he comes on with a thick Asian Indian accent. You know, you know how the Indians talk, right? He's from India. And I was like, so he told me, he says, yeah, and it's some bogus place, he said. The invoice said Geek Squad, but he said somewhere else. Huh? So I asked him, I said, yeah, what computer you fix? And who fixed it and where and when? And then I said, let me tell you something. See, I've trapped your number, I've trapped your coordinates and stuff, and I'm going to send it to the FBI. He cursed me and hung up the phone. Yeah, he cursed me. He cursed me, Angela.
He cursed you out?
Yeah, and he hung up the phone. But I went back and blocked the number. I say I have the email saved just, in case. It's a critical, I call it. And I blocked the number. He cursed me and hung up the phone. So all kind of scams, phishing, fights. I've had people come. Huh?
Boy, I just get all kind of emails today, boy. You don't know what is real and what is fake.
And I get
so much different.
I get friend requests from famous people. Famous people. I tell you, famous actors and singers. And I'm like, huh? Who's it? But when you look at it, they don't have the little blue check mark on the name of Instagram or Facebook. So I know this is not the real person. You know what I mean? Yeah, fake. They make a fake profile and contact me, or they want to have an offline conversation with me. I'm like, huh? But what alerting me made me more suspicious when one of my favorite actor send me one of those messages. I was like, really? So I know where the studio is. I call and I said, it's so and so there. And they say, well, no, they're out filming somewhere. And I told the person, well, this person is contacting me, pretending to be Mr. So and so. And they say, oh yeah, we get a lot of that. But they're real good with it, because I kept demanding, I want a voice call. Voice call me, because some of them actors have distinguished voices, right? And this actor has a distinguished voice. But by the time I hear it, I would know it's him. And he couldn't. I'm going to text you for the time being, for a couple of weeks, and then I'll arrange. I was like, they got nothing better to do, Aunt Slim. Yeah.
Well, these days, you never know, but you have to be so careful.
Yeah, very. So yeah.
It's scam after scam after scam.
And then Bank of America had some problem with its customers. The money went away and nobody knew where it was. So this internet, this cyber thing has its good, its advantages, its pros, its cons, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, but that's life today,
Yeah, boy.
Everything trying to move into the 22nd century. Everything is under scrutiny. Everything.
Everything. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Don't care what you do. Somebody already devising a plan how to break into that.
Yep.
As soon as they start, or even before they start. It's like in track and field. I mean, people already taking drugs that they ain't testing for as yet.
Oh my God. You're kidding me, Slim.
It might take you another 5 years before you can test for those drugs that these people taking, because they have to stay ahead of the game. So everybody's trying to stay ahead of the game, because at the end of the day, is greenbacks, and
stay ahead of the game and win.
Yeah, some people do whatever they think is necessary. So let me say a special welcome to no other than Nadia Mongal. Nadia was first in the village again. She says, good night, everyone. Good night to you, Nadia.
Night, Nadia.
And some good night. I get some nice blue emojis. Yeah, Nadia. Full 100. It's raining down here, but it's been raining all day. Nadia says, Tommy, good night. Tommy got a few blue emojis. Tommy should be here shortly. Right? And Diana, well, you get some red heart emojis with something hanging at the bottom.
Yeah. That must be a present. A Valentine's Day present.
Oh, all right, all right, all right. Nadia says to Keisha, Judy, Lana, Rose, Miss Coover, Capiza, good night.
Oh.
Rennie, Albert, Hailey, Troy,
I see we
Ulrich.
have a new person here, Amar Singh. If you're new to the village, Mr. Singh or Miss Singh, I don't know. Good night.
I hope
And
that not Arjun family, you know. I Arjun family.
yeah, yeah,
That
true.
could,
He must be
yeah,
using his
yeah,
son's
yeah, yeah.
phone.
That could be Arjun's son or his daughter or his second wife or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Something. Hailey boy, you inside boy. Hailey come in second tonight, boy. Hailey inside. Oh God. Hailey comes second. Oh God. Look, you love doctor comes. The love doctor come to tonight, boy. You love doctor in yours early tonight.
yeah, they love Noxa. Good for him.
Yeah, the love doctor say love is all I bring, boy. Special love by request. So,
He
folks,
get, he get
anybody,
jealous of me because I cook a bhaji and rice today.
eh?
Yeah.
Anybody need any special love requests? We have the love doctor in the house. We could make special arrangements for you. You know, I don't know what is the love doctor's charge. You know, but I think he charges in TT dollars, not us dollars. So I don't think he'll be rather expensive. You know, using TT dollars. You know, I mean, he might charge 99.99. That's 99.99 TT dollars. So love doctor, just put up your rate just so people can know what you are charging in TT. You know, and so we could know, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Highly camp out for second place, but
I have my microphone and thing to hook up, but oh, I need somebody who's not electronically challenged like me.
yeah, yeah. Good evening to Keisha, sister soldier. Yeah, yeah. Rennie says, respect to the panel, Mr. Wards, Lady Diana, Mr. Tommy, full 100. Yeah, 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 boy, highly, boy. Nadia, lick you up again, boy. Oh, God, boy. Nadia have all your number, you know. All you could try all kind of thing. Nadia have all your covered, boy. She have all your, everything Nadia is to Keisha. She have all your
Mhm.
covered. Albert says, good evening, Ansem, Diana, and Tommy. Good evening to you, Albert. All right.
Good evening, Alberto.
Yeah, Albert wanted to hear himself twice, but that's all right. Yeah, yeah. Ali boy, change the change, boy.
Mm-hmm.
Ali, what do you mean by change the change? What does that mean? Good evening, Nadia. From
Change.
Albert.
Stop, changing and change. Stop the changing thing.
Change, but change. What change the change means?
And stop moving the P and put in the U.
So, 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 you change
Mm.
something, and you change what you change.
Mm.
Uh,
Stop changing and remove.
no, but I mean, yeah, they explain. I don't know what change the change means.
Stop
All right,
changing and remove.
stop changing and remove.
Yeah.
Remove and replace it with what? Just to change. We want to remove and place it with.
Put better.
Okay, all right. I have a problem with putting better.
Put
Highly inside
better.
with temperature 2 Celsius and cloudy. How much is Celsius? 2 Celsius in Fahrenheit.
2 Celsius. That
Yeah.
must be about 30
30.
something.
Line that cool.
Right? No,
Yeah.
no, no. Wait, let me
What's that?
see. 2
Highly,
Celsius Fahrenheit.
highly says rainy and windy in Durham. Albert.
Yeah,
Durham is not in
35 degrees, 35.6.
okay, that's not cold, man.
Mm.
Highly rainy and windy is Durham in North Carolina? Or there's a
Mm.
Durham in North Carolina? Maybe I should ask that question.
It might be. There's a Durham in North Carolina. I
Yeah,
know
but
that.
it don't
But it
really
might
get
be a
that cold
Durham
in
up
North
there
Carolina, no?
in Canada.
Or in Canada.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. Albert say have to keep well in my retirement. Looking forward to planting in the spring, boy. Albert, how much plants does a lot of water plant up in Wiccasaga? Is Wiccasaga you from?
Mm.
Albert from Wiccasaga? Is
Mm.
Wiccasaga you from? Yeah, wherever it is, some weapon with Saga or Mr. Saga, or wherever it is. It's one of them saga, right?
Mhm.
Wherever it is.
Yeah, we've been cold and raining, and there were little pellets in my window earlier in my neck of the woods.
Look,
I mean, outside was dark at 3 p.m. Huh? Mhm.
Albert telling people his business, but I'm still active, boy. Going to 70 this year. The man
Uh,
active.
uh, uh,
Lord, what? Go ahead, you tell people your business partner. You man say, the man say, I'm still active, boy. Albert, boy. Albert, let me get Albert a round of applause, boy. Never.
Aye.
Albert, Albert, what, boy? Albert said 78. I'm still only I just read know what Albert said. So only don't be upset, eh? Don't get it twisted. Albert stated at 78, I'm still active. Albert, take this. But boy, that people Albert half age and having problems being active, you know.
Albert probably active in the community.
Listen, you see, I all I said, I just I just reread what Albert put up. Albert says, I'm still active, going to be 78 this year. And I give Albert a round of applause for at 78 years of age being active. That is it. That is it. I do
Hmm.
all I want to read into all I like to and I notice there's always read into things that I say, somehow. Yeah,
Look, Nadia sent him some woo, hearts. How?
yeah, yeah. I highly says, yes, Albert, take 3 months cleanse and keep the body refreshed, man. Watch the diet.
And
Watch the
don't
diet,
overdo
yeah.
it with the
Don't
fridge.
overdo it with the fridge. Okay, all right, all right. You see, Albert say he active, boy.
That's what I do, Highly. That I do
Oh, oh,
the
oh,
cleanse.
oh, look, I tell all you, I had it right.
And that thing is have
Albert,
you going to the bathroom so much. Yeah, go ahead.
Albert is in Mississauga. I know I had it
Mhm.
right. I thought it was Mississauga, but it's Mississauga. Yeah. Albert, yeah. Oh, like highly lives in
Mississauga.
Canada too.
Mississauga. Oh Lord, they didn't teach all the phonics
Mississauga
in Pimaka.
is Mississauga. It's not Mississauga.
Mississauga.
No, the U is the U is silent.
Mississauga.
All right. Albert, is it Mississauga or Mississauga? The Trinidad pronunciation is Mississauga. The Canadian pronunciation is Mississauga. That's not so, man. Like I living in Canada too, right? You know that area? My cousin used to live there. One time I went up to Mississauga, Albert's a nice place, Nice,
Mhm.
quiet place in Canada. I went up there for a track meet.
It's very nice. I went to I
Yeah.
always talk about my experience going to the mall on Young Street, and then I went to the outlet Dunbar, somewhere in an outlet in Dunbar, and I made my name, boy, shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, ooh, I made my name. Outlet
Albert's
place.
one of his
Yep.
daughter living with by. Is that with B or with by?
Oh Jesus, Whitby. See, there you go.
No. Why
All
is
it
that not
see,
with by? What is
Whitby.
BY? What is BY?
Where's BY? By
Yes.
by itself.
Okay. So that's with by.
Whitby.
So wait. What is BE?
Anselm B. That's a short Y.
What?
Yeah.
A short Y?
You got long A, short A,
Oh,
long E, short E.
wait. If there's a short Y, there are tall Ys too, right?
Long. And your vowels and your letters in your phonics, there's long A, long I, short I, like A, eh. Huh?
So what's
Okay.
a long I?
A long I
Yeah.
might be Iceland. A short I, idiot.
All right. Okay. All right. Idiot. So all of a sudden, right? They have short, they have long. What about
But that's been the case since I was a little girl. That's how phonics are taught.
with long and short?
Yeah, long
Remember that?
vowels, short
Remember they teach us
vowels.
that in Chumakak, nah?
They didn't teach all of that?
No, long
Oh
and short.
dear Father.
I.
Lord,
Let's
Lord
see.
help. You know
But
why? Only use that book named the Nelson Reader.
no, when you see a I is I.
No, I is
It.
not always I in
Y
words.
is Y. Yellow is still yellow.
Okay, Anselm, look, I'm going to read the statement you have up on the screen.
Okay.
Anselm, I am going to cook some curry while I listen. Why don't I say listen?
No, you can't say license.
Ah,
That's not license.
that's listen. It's
That's right. That's
That is the short.
LIST's list. EN is listen.
That's the short I. So the word before while is the I.
No, LIST
Oh God,
list.
I would pelt a dust at you if you was in my
EN
class.
is that's listen. What you getting vexed for? That's what it is.
I will pelt a dust at you.
Nah, them teacher
It's
don't tell
long
you this.
eyes and short eyes. Oh,
Listen. All right. So Amar Singh, welcome.
what's the name of the program? In the what?
In the village.
Right. So would you say in the village?
No.
Okay,
VILL
that's
is
all.
Ville.
I done talk. So
Ville,
why is it vi?
Ville
I
H.
think why is it vi and not vile? But if
No,
you have
Vile
the
is
word,
VILE.
so it's village.
No, Ville is VILL.
And I'm
Vile is
telling you,
VILE.
you have long pronunciations and short pronunciations.
I thought it's like if you make the Y longer, that means it's long. Or if you make it shorter, that means it's short.
Hey, Stormy, bring me a duster here, please.
No, I just asking a question. Good evening, Lazarus. Who's Lazarus from Watch?
You,
Who's Lazarus?
you,
Is that a
mhm.
new person we have in the village? I ain't
You,
seen him.
because you was missing me. You come back from the dead.
Oh, that's what it was.
Mhm.
Okay. Good night again, Nadia. Good night to you again. Hey,
Now,
what's
now
wrong?
look at this word. Look at this word. BIT is what?
BIT, bit,
What is BITE?
bite.
All right. So there you go. You understand now what went on?
No,
Okay. What's CAP?
cap,
What's CAPE?
cape.
All right.
It's
What's
different.
CO?
That's no long and short.
Oh, Jesus. What's COD?
Code,
What's CODE?
code.
Ah, you get the
You
drift?
see,
What?
no, you see what it is that when you do that, it's code, DE.
What?
It's separate now. There's a separation now from the COD to the CODE.
What's TAP?
TAP, tap,
And what's TAPE?
tape,
You hear the
tape,
tape. And
tape,
in top, you hear the
T, no,
ah.
the T-ape, T-ape, tape.
Oh Lord, Father God.
It's like
Let
a
us
T with a
hire a
ape.
link. Let's
It's a,
hire a linguist person here, boy. Woo.
it's a T with a ape, tape. That's what it is. It's a C with a ode, code.
What is
C,
FIR?
F-I-R?
FIR, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
FIR, fur.
No, you mean F-U-R? Fur.
Fir is a fir tree. FIR is a fir tree, type of
Okay.
tree.
Where that tree in
Uh,
Barbados? Is that tree in
oh,
Barbados?
Jesus. And what is FIRE?
Fire.
All right. So if you see a house burning now, what you would say? You would say fire,
No, you say fire.
fire. You think people gonna come? You have to say fire.
It's fire. Yeah, it's fire. I don't have a problem with that.
And
But
so
once you remove once you put it, eat it, it's no longer fur.
it's not necessarily it's all
Yeah,
kinds of words.
once you add the eat it, it's no longer fur.
You know, they
Right?
have a lot. Well, they have a lot of words without e's at the end. It is how it was. It is how it's ordained. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
The long vowels, short vowels. All right. Good.
What Albert say? I'm not the godparent. Okay. For what? Diana,
Yeah.
Bernie says, I want to come by you for the weekend just for some bhaji, rice, and fried fish.
Stormy is not gonna have tolerate another male in his domain.
I ain't gonna read the rest of what he said, but it's on the
What is
screen.
that?
It's on the screen.
With a little whipping on his yeah, you might get whipped by Stormy. He's not gonna tolerate another male in his space.
Yeah, Mr. Saga is considered to be a safe place in truth. Uh, as I say, police response. All I hear, see that eight guys get arrested for FUL problems.
Mm-mm-mm.
Ray still welcome. Yeah, boy,
Eh,
English class and lesson tonight, boy. But we ain't getting no. Nadia is a teacher. I thought Nadia would be correcting Diana, but I ain't hear Nadia say nothing.
Nadia works in a school. What me correcting me? I'm telling you like it is. You have short vowels, you have long vowels.
But I ain't see. I thought Nadia would be correcting you on some of the
A
misinformation that you are
E
giving
I
out.
O U A E O U O
What?
O.
What? You're making what songs you're making there? What is that? Oh. Say that again.
A E I O U A U.
Oh, AEIOU. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Full 100.
Mm.
Full 100. So here is the press release where they said that Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, 8 more detained in ongoing FUL investigation. Trinidad and Tobago Police Service is confirming that
Mm-mm.
8 police officers have been detained relative to the ongoing firearm users license investigation. The investigation is currently underway and further information will be shared as it becomes available. Corporate Communication Unit, January 18th, 2023. Right? So
Mm.
all the talk. If them fellas and them have been detained, you know
Mm.
there's something there.
Something going on.
Something happening. Something more immortal than the pestle, as they say.
And I saw a story where some were detained for and implicated in kidnapping. And kidnappings going on in Trinidad.
The
Hmm.
police too.
Police and soldiers. Police and
Well,
a soldier, I
there's
believe,
also been
subject to correction. Huh?
there's also been there's also been instances where you have regiment soldiers spent shells being owned by the regiment.
Hmm.
Spent shells in shooting being a regiment. Now, now, I don't understand how a responsible newspaper, with how it is in Trinidad and Tobago, will put out a headline like this. Nyan is Rowley's new deputy. You remember that song, A Deputy Essential? So I don't understand how the Express can put out a headline like this. I mean, we know what it means, but I think that they wanted to put out a little more on the mortar than the pestle when they put this one out.
Yeah, no, they wanted to. That is what newspapers do. They use a salacious headline to sell papers.
Yeah. That is it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, Hailey wants to be an Englishman. He in Canada, but he wants to be an Englishman. Anselm will orange with a A. Oh, you have orange with a A. Oh, you have. How you have orange with a A? Orange? That's an orange. You have to go somewhere up the Caribbean to get an orange.
Oh,
Or
orange.
or inch.
I know some people may pronounce it orange because of their dialect.
Yeah,
That
but I don't
that
know
be
Hailey know
without
from
picking
O
on the
to Z.
Guyanese, huh?
I don't know if Hailey knows the alphabet very well, you know. It can't be. He went from O, he went in reverse from O down to A. Hailey, make it make sense now, man. And I know where you get them emojis there from, eh? What kind of emojis that he had there? Yeah. Nadia, they did teach us AEIOU. They did teach us that in Chumaka. We know all that. They didn't leave that out.
And Nadia, highly, no, Nadia, not highly. Stormy spent 2 days with his girlfriend, so he's coming home tomorrow.
That dog does spend more time in daycare more than anything else. I feel sorry for that dog.
They have
Look,
a big place. They have a big yard, open range where he can run,
you
and
get a
that's what
dog
he
for the
likes
dog
to
to be in
do.
daycare all the time? I don't understand that.
No, I put him there that he can run 2 days a week. Let him run and mingle with other dogs.
You might as well get what is that? Some app they tell me about in class yesterday, boy. Dog Mingle. You have an app called Christian Mingle. How many times you could have to get Dog Mingle?
No, you see, the breed of dog he likes to run. Run. So I have to, my place he can run, but run from the back to the front run. But this place is a big, like 2 football fields enclosed. So he gets to run, till he lays down in the middle of the field and say tired. So that's good for him. Approaching top of the hour.
We're gonna go for a quick station identification. It's in the village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Let's say welcome to our resident. Oh, I could call him by
Historian.
You are listening to WZYE 95.9
Hey, Dan, are you hearing that?
FM, the most
Yeah.
influential name.
You hearing that top of the hour?
Radio
Yes.
for
Okay,
time,
all right.
news, sports, and information from the Caribbean.
All right, boy. I could have almost get all your TD Jakes there, boy. Almost get all your TD Jakes there, boy. I say our guest is in the background, boy. She have a beautiful, splendiferous, fantabulous, marvelous, tremendous smile there, boy. That smile could light up the whole of WZYE,
Light up the whole of Trinidad.
Oh, God! With that smile, boy. What, boy? Hey, boy. All right, let's bring in our guest. We're not gonna wait any longer because as soon as Anderson come in, the guest come in one time, boy. Anderson, you bring blessings, boy. Of course, let me say a special good night to Mrs. Karen Nunez Tesheira. How are you doing, Karen?
I'm muted.
Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic.
You're muted. Unmute your mic.
Yeah.
Sorry. I said, happy to be with you. Happy 2023. And I see Dan is still celebrating Christmas.
That's right. But you remember Kosher's door, Miss Karen, no?
Well, listen, I can't have a look at the background,
Don't worry, I will change it soon.
Karen, very observant, you gotta watch yourself. You gotta observant too bad, but so
Karen,
yeah,
daddy lawyer, ain't she? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how was 2023 treating you so far? How was everything going so far?
Well, good. I mean, I had a little rough thing with the flu, bad cough. I think that's been going around. But I got to see my daughter. I went up to London and she's there. And so I was happy to see that she's, on a personal level. That was good for me. And then coming back and starting to write again, which is what I had stopped doing while I was involved directly in the politicking, as I call it. So good for me. It's a good 2023, a good beginning. I hope it continues that way.
You know, Karen, I know we want to talk about the nomination of the president, the next president of Trinidad and Tobago, because I don't think there's any way that could be stopped. I was thinking about something today, being that you were coming, right? During the PNM internal election, they were talking about you as a person who was sitting on the sideline, so to speak. And then I saw the person who is the new senator, and I said, but wait now, I don't know he. I wonder if he was sitting on the sideline, or he was sitting on the bench, or if he was somewhere that, there were so many other people. So I'm just thinking that after trying to talk to Stuart Young and ask him, what does he think about this person? Because I don't know if that person is a long-time PNM, but in the PNM a long time.
I do happen to know him in a sort of personal way because I know his father-in-law and I know in-laws. He's actually from Tobago, and he acted as a deputy. I think he was before they made him a minister. I think he served as the deputy president of the Senate, if that's the correct terminology.
The
So
new
he
senator,
came,
Sukal?
yes,
The new
the
senator?
Freitas. If it's the Freitas, yeah,
No,
that,
not the Freitas. The Freitas,
not the
the Freitas is fine. It's the new senator, Suklal.
Oh yeah. I don't know him, but I mean, is that a bad thing? I don't know if that's a bad thing, but it doesn't matter what they say. You don't give oxygen to that. You know what I mean? I don't give oxygen to them. I take it as a left-handed compliment that they consider me worthy of so much consideration and so much. I had to use our patpa, movie langing, and all of that. I mean, if they felt I was so, you know who told me that first? When I was now in government years and years ago as a new minister, and I mean, I've been a new parliamentarian, which is a little intimidating, I will have to say, because there were people who were very experienced. And two persons. One, I won't call any, but they held good offices and they were in a position to make the comment to me. And they said to me, don't worry, you don't throw stones at an empty mango tree. So they had these stones at me. I must have some juicy mangoes on my tree.
Julie mangoes, but Julie mangoes.
Yeah, but it is true. You know, so, you know, it's a left-handed compliment, but it's okay. That's that, you know, in politics, if you can't don't go in the kitchen. So if you're not prepared to understand that is it, what it is, then don't get involved, because it's not for the faint-hearted.
No, let's get to the presidency, right? We know, I know you have had a few discussions about this previously, right? And Section 24 of the Constitution and Section 27 comes into play, you know, when we talk about, you know, it contemplating political appointment, right? And when we talk about Section 27, we go back to what happened during the coup, you know,
Exactly.
kind of expanded that a little bit for the audience regarding, and then we're going to get to the question of, right, that the country actually needs an independent president, and if Christine Kangulu, as a member of the PNM and a member of the president of the Senate, can actually be an independent president. So let's start with Section 24.
Yeah, well, okay, but let's start with the first your statement, the independent president. I don't think that our constitutional provision, because when this whole thing started taking on, you know, a lot of publicity and people talking about it, it caused me, as a lawyer myself, to say, let me look at the constitutional provisions and educate myself, because that is what would guide what is the thinking behind it. So is it that you want an independent president, or do you want a gatekeeper president, a president in the sense that independent, in the sense that when circumstances arise that they are willing not to toe the line? But you don't want a president of the as head of state who is not working with and has a good working relationship with the government, because it is our constitution. Now, if you want to change the constitution, then let's change it. But the president is the head of state, and the head of state is the head of the executive, as head of state, the president is the repository or the vessel that holds executive power. So that the only way that the power of the president is circumscribed or limited is by constitutional provisions. So really and truly, were it not for the Constitution and provision of the Constitution, as head of state, that is the person who can run the country. Now, the fact of the matter is we have an elected government, and they're the ones that run the country. You cannot have, it is not in the interest of the country. It's not in the interest of the country. I'm not talking about Dr. Rowley or Christine Kang, who I happen to know personally, and I like personally. In fact, I saw her brother today, and the brother, I taught him, and how I knew it was he said, Miss, because they always call he and Kerwin Garcia, husband, always calling me Miss all these years after teaching them. I've been so close with them. So coming back to the point is that when you look at the Constitution and the purpose of the Constitution, you are giving, the president is actually giving the powers that are vested in her or him to the government elected to run the country. So it is not in the interest of the country to have a president who is at loggerheads, who is fighting the government, because how are we going to have the country that is going to be run in an effective, efficient manner. So we have to understand that when people start to object. And look, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people, including Dr. Ollie, surprised that I'm saying that, but I try to be fair. Yeah, I try to be fair. So, and if you look at the provisions, as you rightly said, if you had any question in your mind that the Constitution considered that the person who could be president even contemplated it, you look at the provision section 24, as you mentioned. It says, if once the president is elected and he or she is either in the House of Representatives or his Senate, that seat shall be vacated. Which means that the Constitution even considers that the person will have not been a former minister or former member of the House or former senator, but actually be in the Senate or be in the House at the time. And as you noted, Section 27, when the president is absent temporarily because he's ill or absent abroad, as happened with the coup, when the President Nur Hassan Ali was out of the country in 1990, Section 27 says, for that temporary period, the president of the Senate shall act as the president of the Republic. And who was that? Mr. Emmanuel Carter. So there's no question about it. And further, even going further, if you want to remove a prime minister, during the period, I'm getting it wrong. If you want to remove a president, Section 38, removing a president, and you have reached the point of a tribunal, which is hardly ever going to happen because of the requirements of the legislation, then the person who will act temporarily, the president, has to step aside. And while he or she steps aside, the president of the Senate will act for that president. So the interrelationship between political appointees and the government and the president of the Republic is not only contemplated. At one level, you might say it is desirable. At one level, you say it is desirable because they are the head of the executive branch of government. However, as you have rightly pointed out, let us look and see what the Constitution really wanted. If the Constitution just wanted a ceremonial head of state, if the Constitution really wanted a figurehead, then the other provisions which we can speak about would not be included. If it was just, you just do as we say, because there is a provision that says, unless otherwise provided, where the president is required to act on the advice of the prime minister, the president shall so act, unless otherwise provided. So there are exceptions, but generally speaking, the Constitution says to you, listen, when nearly everything requires advice of the prime minister, commissions of inquiry, and for most commissions, there one exception, ombudsman, nearly everything requires the prime minister's advice. And once the prime minister's advice is required, the Constitution doesn't ask you, It says that the president shall act in accordance with the prime minister's, with the cabinet, with the prime minister's advice through the cabinet. So what I am saying to you is this: let us move away from the argument that somehow the president of the Senate is the president of the Republic is somehow to be at loggerheads with the government and a loggerheads with the executive. That is not the intention of our Constitution. Do we want to change it? That's a different thing. Do we want an executive president? Maybe we do need that. But we can't get away from the fact that our own Constitution contemplates that the president as head of state and repository of executive power has to divest herself or himself of that power on where he or she is required to act on the advice of the prime minister. She must or he must so act. There are exceptions which you could then look at and say to me and the country will then say, well, the president, whilst he or she must act in accordance with executive, which is with the government, the elected government, nonetheless, there are enough provisions in the Constitution that gives that president enough discretion and judgment that he or she just cannot be there as a figurehead and a yes man. And that is the problem with Christine Gangaloo. That's the problem with Christine Gangaloo, who I like and who I know personally. But that is the problem with Christine Gangaloo. Christine Gangaloo came out of the bowels of the PNM. She had to be a party card holder, as I am, once you become a member of parliament. She was the Minister of Legal Affairs, did an excellent job. In fact, she's the one, I don't like to say she, but as former Minister of Legal Affairs, it is because of her, and she won an award actually, when she actually computerized the whole system of registration of births and deaths. Today, when you can go in and get your birth certificate and your death certificate and all of that, it was she that was the one that was the person who was behind that, the computerization of the whole system, for which she got an award. But she came out of the bowels of the PNM. She served even before me, because before I came in 2007, she was a Minister of Legal Affairs then, I believe. Then she continued, and then when Mr. Manning, when we were in opposition, she went up for the seat of Pointe-a-Pierre, to win the seat of Pointe-a-Pierre, which she lost. She did not win it, but she was active and was going for the seat of Pointe-a-Pierre, which she lost. So she was not in the in part of the opposition, which we then became between that period, because she did not win her seat. But when we came back into office, that is the PNM party, which she's a member, what was she? Became president of the Senate and has been in that position, as far as I'm aware, up to when she resigned yesterday or 2 days ago. No, that's not good. That's not a good thing. Because
but Karen, aren't we to expect, though, whether it's the UNC, whether it's the PNM, whether it's the NTA, whether it's whoever is in government, that they're going to nominate a person for president who are pro whatever party it is?
Right. And that's of course the troubling thing, because
Yes.
now what I am saying, and I want to be clear, because what I did not do is I gave you all the arguments why it is not unreasonable to expect that the person who would be nominated, selected for election as head of state would be someone who would be, you want to call, quote unquote, someone who came out, a political appointee. The provisions of the Constitution clearly contemplate that. So that's not an issue. What is an issue is that should the government not look for someone, everybody may have an opinion about which party they support. I mean, privately, they might have that personal view. But should you put someone to be in that position who will be perceived as a yes man, she will not get away unscathed. She will not get away unscathed because she doesn't say anything. They will tell her, they'll say the same. They say what they said about Paula May Weeks, that she went mute. She went mute after that Police Service Commission imbroglio, which in my opinion, she was taking instructions. And she was a Court of Appeal judge. She was never in politics. She came from the DPP. She went to the judiciary, and as far as I'm aware, was never a political animal. She may have had political views, but they were not apparent. Now, if she, in the case with the Police Service Commission, the Prime Minister admitted he came and told her that he had a report against Gary Griffith, who was the first person on the merit list, that Trott or Bliss, I can't remember, C. Prasad, who was then chair of the Police Service Commission, came with the merit list to her as president. That is, Paula May Weeks went as president, and gave it to her. And then the president said, immediately withdraw. What does she mean by that? You cannot withdraw something that was given to you. And my issue with that is, I mean, is it so coincidental that happened on the same day that the Prime Minister came, when the merit list was brought to her, submitted to her, and a report that was very much against. I don't support Gary Griffith, I'm talking about the principle.
Right.
And and a report that was very much against Gary Griffith and was very much and she acted on instructions. So if you
but Karen, is there anything in the Constitution that says once that list is submitted, it cannot be retracted?
Exactly. I've done an article on that. I'm glad you've asked me that, because that is why I've been so what's his word fit, emphatic about it, because this same Paul Weeks, who I went to class with, this is my unfortunate situation, because nearly everybody I either went to school with or I taught. So I don't have the distance that most people have, and that's good and it's bad, because it makes you have an opinion on the people, which may not be good or bad depending on your experience, personal experience. But going to answer your question, that same Paul Weeks, when there was the time when the commissioner of police term had come to an end in August of 2019, I believe. So they wanted to have someone acting until an appointment was made. Up to now, we haven't had an appointment. And Trot, Bliss, I don't know which one it is. They're two sisters. I know them. You say I know so many. Anyway, it's either Bliss or Trot, whoever was the chair of the. I mean, no disrespect. I just don't know which one it is.
Wasn't it Bliss C. Prasad? Wasn't it
It's
Bliss?
Bliss, okay, because the sister name is Trot. And Bliss Prasad, as chair of the Police Service Commission, had asked previously the president previously written to her and asked to appoint someone to act as commissioner of police and deputy commissioner, to act until a substantive person was appointed. And the Paul Weeks, as president, wrote her back and said, I cannot do that. I am a creature of statute. I have to act within the four corners of statute. And the statute gives me no power to make acting appointments of the commissioner of police or deputy commissioner. Therefore, I am in no position so to do. And she was very clear that she had no power because the statute was very limited and circumscribed her power. Right. So you knew not to do it then. When Bliss C. Prasad came with the merit list under section 123.3 of our Constitution as amended in 2006, when she came with the list, according to section 123.3, once she submits that merit list to the president, 123.4, I believe, says the president, upon receipt of the merit list or whatever they call it, shall prepare the notification to Parliament for affirmative resolution of the choice of the Police Service Commission for police as commissioner of police. In other words, she had no authority to do anything once it was given to her. She said she's a creature of statute. So once that list was given to her, the only thing she could do then was prepare the notification to Parliament and let them debate it in Parliament. And then the Prime Minister could put his report there and they could duke it out in Parliament. But she did not do that. And I didn't like the language. She said the list was given to her, but it was immediately withdrawn. The passive language, number one, using passive language. And secondly, what do you mean immediately withdrawn? It can only be withdrawn if it was given to you. And if it was given to you, you said earlier on to that same Bliss C. Prasad, when she asked you to appoint someone to act as commissioner of police, you told her that you are a creature of statute and you can only act within the four corners of the statute. So under what constitutional authority could you give her back that list? What do you mean by immediately withdrawn? When immediately withdrawn is she gave it to you. She could not withdraw it again. Your thing was to prepare the notification, take it to Parliament, and then whatever report that the Prime Minister came to you with just to make you do what you did, then let them deal with it in Parliament. But you did not do that. And if, in all due respect, if Paula May Weeks, who was a Court of Appeal judge, who has no active or direct or any known relationship that you can say with the party, maybe with members of the government, yes, very much so. I can say that because I was in law school with them, I was one of their colleagues in law school. You understand? So anyhow, so if she can do that, what do you leave for Christine Gangaloo? It's nothing against Christine Gangaloo, but her father-in-law, who I just do not like, he was forced on me as my campaign manager.
Is that Noel Garcia? Noel Garcia?
I mean, he was foisted on me. And you can't say that's not true. And I couldn't have asked a campaign manager because he wanted to be he was the one they wanted as the to go up for that seat, David O'Meara. And they were not happy with my selection by the Prime Minister. So he was not a happy camper, and he made it very clear. He made it very difficult for me. That her father-in-law, who became a member of Parliament and Minister of Education. Yeah. Okay, so that is then Garcia's her uncle-in-law. And so how is she, and her whole life, she has not had a moment, at least since 2005, I could say, that she has not been politically active. So if Paula May Weeks, who had no history of being in politics, and you bring Christine Kangaloo, and I like Christine, but I cannot see Christine ever telling any prime minister no, even when she, and in that regard, the discretionary powers and the powers where she can exercise judgment, I am very concerned that she will not do so in an independent manner.
No, Karen, I want to ask a question, right? Something just came to mind. If the president... Why
I not seen you all? I only seen me. I mean,
no, because we just have you up on the screen. When we are, all right. What we do, when you on the screen, we like you to be up on the screen.
Okay, I got a little concerned. All right.
No, you are our guest. So what we normally will do, like for example, we can do like this, right? This is where we have all three of us on the screen.
So I can see expression.
Right. No, Miss Karen, you're better looking than Anselm. So
I just think anything. Anselm, you very fit. I know you fitter than me for sure.
Karen, I want to get back to this subject really quickly, and I want to make an analogy. If the president of the country can basically break the Constitution, and there are no consequences for her action, what type of country are we living in? If the Constitution says, according to you, 123.4, right? So once the list is submitted according to the Constitution, it cannot be retracted. And the president allowed that list to be retracted. And she's the president. And the Constitution said that shouldn't happen. What does it left for the layman to think that the president is not following the Constitution? Right?
We live in a green fig republic.
Well, that is a very good point you're making. And again, we turn to the Constitution as our guide. Because in fact, you just made a very good point. And the point is this. The same Constitution that says, Section 81, that says that where the Constitution provides that the head of the president should to act on the advice of the prime minister, the president shall act, except in where it's in her own discretion, where it's provided for in the Constitution, where there are one or two exceptions. But guess the other thing to it, Section 82 says whether or not the president has acted on the advice of the prime minister or cannot be inquired into by any court of law. Also, so that what that means is the president is almost certainly the prime minister is not going to be the one to say, I'm going to report you to the court to say that I told you to do X, Y, and you didn't do it. But even if he tried to do it, he would be the same Constitution says you cannot do it. And I'm sure you're familiar with the case of Bain, James Alva Bain. That time, that is the example. What had happened then, Ellis Clark, President Ellis Clark at the time, first president of our republic, PNM appointed president of our republic. He was still the president when there was a change of government from the PNM government to NAR government, where A.N.R. Robinson became the prime minister of the country. During that period, he is the president. He says during the period when the change of government had occurred and A.N.R. Robinson was the prime minister of the country, he appointed James Alva Bain to 2 commissions. The prime minister, A.N.R. Robinson, took him to court and said that he was never consulted, his advice was never sought, and therefore the appointment of James Alva Bain to those two commissions, which would obviously be PNM. He must have been a PNM supporter, Mr. Bain, I assume, was invalid. He went on affidavit, deposed to the fact on affidavit that Ellis Clark, President Ellis Clark, never sought his advice on the appointment of James Alva Bain, and therefore he had acted against the constitutional requirements of Section 81, and therefore the appointment it was invalid. You know what the court said? Section 82 said you can't inquire, and that was the end of that.
And along
that
line,
the point I want to just make before you say, well, this just want to make this point. So that's why you have to be very. It is on. You know, you say a knife cuts both ways. A chemist knife cuts both ways. On one end, you could understand why the executive, the government of the day, would want to make sure. Listen, I want a rogue president, you know, because if this president decided they're not following my advice, I can't even take it to court. I can't even take it to court because it says I can't. The Constitution says I can't. But at the same point in time, the Constitution also wants, by that provision, to say we don't want a figurehead president. We want a president who can. You can't want be giving him or her instructions willy nilly. You can't be roughing me up and telling me what I must or must not do. Because guess what? You cannot take me to court to find out whether I took your advice or not. So it cuts both ways. On one end, the government will say, look, I don't want any president who could hold us to ransom. But at the other end, for the people, it also says we want a president who they can't mess around with. They can't bully, because she will say, you can't take me to court, you know. You can't take me to court, so you can be upset as you want. You cannot take me to court to find out whether you gave me advice and I didn't follow it. So it's so in that regard, it is in that regard that I say that whilst we want a president that is not going to will work with a trust and confidence with the government, we do not want a yes man president. We do not want a president who will not be the gatekeeper that she must be for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And if Paula Mae Weeks, with all due respect to Paula Mae Weeks, if Paula Mae Weeks could do what she did, and she was not even a political appointee per se, what do you leave for Christine Gangulu, who I like? I like her, but Christine Gangulu, in all due respect, say no to Dr. Rowley? No way, I can't see it. And you know what she is doing? You know what? And the unfortunate thing about that is that people like Ms. Kanglu, people who are considered for the position of president, have lived a life where, for them to be considered, they would have been looked at as upstanding citizens, done good work, and in other words, people that are worthy of the office. But you know what happens to nearly every one of them and this happens to them in their twilight years of in terms of professionally. They end their profession on a bad note. Look at Anthony Carmona. Coming there with all his fanfare. Well, I don't think anybody wants to see Anthony Carmona again. Paula Mae Weeks. Look at what Paula Mae Weeks has done after being a court of appeal judge. How many people said he mute president, and the president who just followed instructions from the prime minister with the police service commission. Look what she did to her reputation. When Christine Ganglu is in that position, even if she comes to an independent opinion, where she's allowed to have an independent opinion, even if she did, and even if she does, when it seems to be too in sync with what the government wants, you know what people will say? Say that she just following instructions. She just following instructions. She's putting her reputation at risk for me.
Ms. Karen, I have several questions for you.
Okay.
The first one being, was the Constitution written before? Yes, the Constitution was written before Trinidad became a republic. Were there any changes to it? And being a republic, I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Rowley has absolute power or ultimate power, if I'm using the right word. And whose job is it to question the transaction that went on between Dr. Rowley, allegedly, I don't know, between Dr. Rowley, to protect Anselm, between Dr. Rowley and Paula Weeks, the president. Whose job is it to say, well, what went on here? We want an account of what went on, and hold them to the grinding stone to answer the question, and not, insult the public and, dodge the questions. Whose job is it?
Well, that's the thing. That's the difficulty, who will guard the guards, and at some point in time you reach a point where supposedly having the president, you want a president that would not have done what Paula May Weeks did. She would not have done that. She would have said, Prime Minister, the list has been submitted to me, and all I can do at this point in time is prepare the notification as the Constitution so provides under Section 123(4), and therefore your report that you have had compiled will have to be considered in Parliament and debated in Parliament. That's the problem. The problem is when you select as president someone who is a yes man or is perceived to be a yes man. So if even whose job was it? There's who is going to say that it was immediately withdrawn. So it means that it would have been given to the president. But who's going to take? You cannot take the court. By the way, the same constitution says, as president in civil matters, acting as president, except in a personal or his personal capacity, is immune from civil proceedings.
Mm-hmm. But those actions. So
there's an immunity. There's immunity in the Constitution for the president, vice president, to be taken to court for any matter as president, which is how she would have acted in her capacity as president, except when it's in a personal. So who is taking? There's no. That is why, at the end of the day, you try as much as you can to put safeguards, to put protection for the people, because our Constitution, which you started with, is a democratic Republican constitution. That's the political system that we have. And what it says is that the supreme power supposedly lies in the people who act through their representatives. But it is they that have the power. But they don't have the power. So that is why under our Republican Constitution, the head of state has discretion in certain areas, important areas, and has the ability to exercise judgment in important areas. And so that is why it is very critical at the end of the day that whilst you want to, the government should be mindful of its responsibility to the people of this country, not to the party, but to the people of this country. And to the people of this country, to appoint Christine Kangaloo it's not a right thing, because it is an insult to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It's flying in their face and saying, I don't care what you think. Yes, so what? She coming straight off the Senate. Yes, she's a party card holder. Yes, she was a minister under Mr. Manning in two terms. No, she wasn't in the opposition because she lost her seat, but she contested the Point-de-Paix seat and she lost. This is a career politician, party person. How could that be right? How could that seem right to the Prime Minister to appoint her? How could that seem right to him? I mean, I think it's an insult to the people of Trinidad. And I have nothing against Christine. I like Christine. Kerwin Garcia, her husband. I mean, was one of my students. He was valedictorian. I had one of my few students in the early days when I was teaching, my early years. Started teaching at a very young age, just in case to let you know, 29, 30. So I was very young at the time. But Kerwin Garcia actually came to my home. I actually allowed him to come to my home, and I became like a confidant to Kerwin. Kerwin is a brilliant young man. He and Colin Kangaloo, Christine's brother, wherever they see me, they call out, Miss. So you have to be able as Prime Minister to look at what is for the good of the country. Look at not what is good for the party, but what is good for the country. And what you are doing there, It's an insult to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because there is no way that Christine Kangaroo will not be perceived to be a yes man to Dr. Rowley. There's nothing that would make you think otherwise.
I have another question for you. What role can the opposition, or does the opposition play in highlighting, that something nefarious went on with the merit list? And we want to know on behalf, don't they have that power in the Senate in Trinidad and Tobago to stand up to Dr. Rowley and say, well, hey, we want to know what's going on. We're not satisfied. The people ain't satisfied.
Yes, and that's the thing, that's the role of the opposition, how effective your opposition is. You have an opposition that will, and it cuts both ways, so don't make them into paragons of virtue, because you flip the switch and you turn around the position, they might do the same thing. So that's the
But you're not acting on behalf of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody's acting on their personal behalf.
Yeah, but that's the sad thing about, maybe we are a young republic, but then again, maybe I shouldn't be so, maybe in Europe they do the right thing and they do it that way. America doesn't seem to have reached that point of maturity either. I mean, they play straight party politics, that whole thing so we are a young republic, we are a small country, and we don't have a problem, Diana, of Barbados. The good thing and the bad thing about Trinidad, which I always say, is everything is seen through the lens of race, ethnicity, and religion. You have a homogeneous population. You all might argue who is the different parties or class structure. Is basically an Afro community, a very small minority of whites, and even then they are Christians. In Trinidad and Tobago, it's not only equal numbers, 40-40, equal numbers in race, and when it comes to religion, we have all types of Christianity, Christian religions, but then we have a large Hindu population who are East Indian, all, and then you have a Muslim population, which is mostly East Indian and some African. So when you take religion, ethnicity, and everything in this country is seen through that lens, I mean, it's not an easy task to run, which is why it is even more imperative that the Prime Minister take the high road and be a Prime Minister and leave a legacy that we could say he did the right thing. But just because you can do it, you do it. And I'm sorry for Miss Kangaroo, because you're already going into there, having accepted the post. I mean, maybe it's very seductive. I mean, I know I would. Anyway, let me not bring myself into this conversation. What I would say
and I'm gonna
let me not bring myself into the conversation, but I would say she has put herself in a difficult position, and she may live to regret it.
Karen, what I believe is that Dr. Rowley, Prime Minister Rowley, has done a disservice to the people of Trinidad and Tobago for years to come. In my estimation, he has lowered the standards for a person to be president in Trinidad and Tobago. That is what I think. But I want to go to a point.
I don't know if the word is standards. I think that's unfair, because I won't be party to saying standards, because Christine Kangaroo is a lawyer. She comes from a family of lawyers.
No. I'm not talking about Christine.
So I don't think you should use the word standard. I think he has taken away, I think, by the appointment, the whole idea as Prime Minister of living up to what we as our Constitution requires, which is a democratic Republican political system, which expresses the will not of a party, but of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And to put Christine Kangaroo there is a party appointment. No question.
And Karen, and I would say, based on your statement that you just said there, directly what you said is that this is not an indictment against Christine Kangaroo.
No.
This is not an indictment. This is an indictment in Dr. Rowley. I'm saying that, right? Yeah. Based on the person that you are putting there. And listen, Christine, I don't know Christine Kangaroo. You know Christine Kangaroo much good. But I'm saying that just the process that's used to put Christine Kangaroo as the president, Dr. Rowley has lowered the standards, in my estimation. This is not you
But I don't
speaking.
want. Why are you saying the word standards though? I don't understand. I don't like. I
All right.
find the word standard is bothering me because it's not
Yeah,
fair
but,
to her as
but
if she is below the standard of
no,
a
no, no,
person
no,
who
Karen. That's
she's not
exactly what
below
I'm
the
saying.
standard.
It's not what has happened now is that in the future now, now, for
Yes.
example, the UNC came out and said no acting politician should be nominated for the president. However, back then, when Mrs. Kamala Persad-Bissessar was in opposition, she voted for A&R Robinson, who was then an acting politician in parliament, to become the president, right? So she was making that comparison, and that comparison was actually null and void, right? So it's, as you said, when you're in opposition, you say one thing. When you're in the government, you say another thing, right? So what I'm saying here now, what Dr. Rowley has done, he has took a more of an acting politician, a person who is actually in the parliament, has been in the bowel of the beast of the PNM, have been, and so in the future now, anytime on any other parties in power other than the PNM, we call it precedent. You know about that. You're an attorney.
I
Right?
hope so.
they call it
I mean,
precedent.
I'm
Right?
talking about PRES, huh? PREC. Okay, go ahead.
PREC, yes, PREC, because I mean, in
Yeah,
global
yes,
business we talk
yes.
about that. So this has set a precedent, and I'm saying that this precedent has now, from Paula Wheat, who was non-affiliated as far as PNM were concerned, we can say that, right? Because we didn't know.
Right. So not
She
actively
was
or directly or not obviously overtly.
right,
That's what we can say.
non-affiliated. So what we
Yeah.
did, we went from all the way up to non-affiliated to be 250% affiliated, right? So that's what I'm saying. The standards has been lowered. I'm not saying the standards been lowered against Ms. Christine Kangalation qualification, Mrs. Christine Kango qualifications, that she can't do the job, that she's not
Yeah.
well suited for the job,
But she
the
can't do the job,
circumstances
really.
surrounding.
She can't really do the job. Because that's the point. This is why I may be quibbling with the word standard, because some people might be may want to say, what are you saying? She's not qualified in terms of her intellectual gravitas, in terms of her, we can't say that. What we
No, I'm not
can
saying
say, what we can say is your point is a good point. And the reason why your point is a good point, which we haven't already dealt with, is that if it were that a president of the head of state by the Constitution, which is what you have to go to. The Constitution is your guide. Intended that president would be just a figurehead, a ceremonial head of state, then we could say, well, they didn't no problem, because they can't do anything anyhow except say, yes, go to functions and make things. Yes, then you have a good, that will be so. But we have not dealt with the fact that, and which I will now want to say, that there are provisions in that very Constitution that obviously and also contemplates that the person who becomes the head of state, who becomes the president, is going to be someone who will exercise independence of thought and independence of action. At least give that appearance. And why is that important? Why do I say that? I am not dealing with what Kamala said or what Rowley said and all of this thing. I am dealing with what the Constitution says. That's my guide, right? Because if this ever end up in a court, that is what you're going to look at. Not, you might use precedent, but you're going to look at the Constitution. So why do I say that? Let me give the most classic example of that, which we all are familiar with, is rivers, streams running into rivers and all of that. Talk of A&R Robinson. When there was when we had 36 seats for the elections, and it was 18-18. Yep. And now normally under the section, I think it's 76(1), once the Constitution says the person who is the head of the party, who has the majority of the support of the members of the House of Representatives, shall be appointed prime minister. They didn't give you any discretion, nothing. And is the head of the party, is the party head. Okay. 76(2) now says, which is what happened in Trinidad and Tobago, where there's no one that you can say commands the support of the majority of the members in the House, then the president shall, in his own judgment, in his judgment, determine the person who, in his judgment, will command the support of the majority of the members. And once that person is willing to act, he shall appoint him prime minister. That happened in Trinidad in 2000 with A.N.R. Robinson. Now, it's a case of an exercise of independent judgment.
Correct.
Yes.
No, that's absolutely correct. I mean,
and now in that case, the income, there's the whole argument of incumbency. I actually did an article on it back in the day about the argument about incumbency, because the argument is if it's split, then it should go to the incumbent. But I guess A.N.R. Robinson and Pandey and them had fallen out or whatever. Can you imagine if that situation, well, we now have 41, but you don't know what will happen. You don't know if Tobago break away. You don't know if you end up at 18. You don't know what will face us in the future. The point is that the Constitution gave the prime president the power in his judgment to make that decision. That's a powerful power. I mean, the UNC was beside themselves when he made Patrick Manning the prime minister. That's powerful power. Then you go to the opposition. You know that the president, again, in his judgment or her judgment, he can decide which, in his judgment, commands and there's a special language they use, who appears to command the majority support of the members of the House of Representatives who do not support the government. He shall appoint that person. But he shall also has the power in his judgment to revoke the appointment of the leader of the opposition, where in his judgment, that leader of the opposition no longer seems to have the support of the majority. So the language is such, which I have not stated it clearly, but the language is such that it's not a question of just a show of hands, how many more support and the majority. It's not just a majority thing. It's still an exercise of judgment of the president to appoint the opposition leader, to revoke the appointment of an opposition leader, to appoint the prime minister in the circumstances where there's no one with a clear majority. Those are powerful powers. And not only this, I don't think people recognize this state of emergency. Whilst the section 8.2 provides that a state of emergency only becomes effective not only with the proclamation when the president proclaims a state of emergency, but the 8.2 also requires the president to issue a written declaration that he or she is satisfied that the conditions for declaring or proclaiming a state of emergency under Section 8 exist. So it's not just a question of saying, you have to make the proclamation at the end of that. The president now has to declare that he or she is satisfied. That's a powerful power if you want to have a state of emergency. So you cannot say that the president in our Republican system of government and under our Constitution is a figurehead president. The example we knew with A.N.R. Robinson appointed Mr. Manning as prime minister, the power to revoke a leader of opposition in his judgment, the power to revoke the appointment, to appoint a leader of the opposition in his judgment, the sole discretion to appoint 9 senators. Well, that's not so controversial. But with the state of emergency, you cannot have a state of emergency unless that president goes and puts and signs his or her name and say, I am satisfied. I don't know what the language is, that a state of emergency exists. You know how powerful that is? Now imagine you have Christine Kangaroo there. Suppose they're abusing the power of a state of emergency because you can do it twice. And then you have to go to the parliament and get a 2/3 majority. But twice the government can do it. And I can't remember, it's 3 months or 6 months. Could you imagine a government abusing a state of emergency and be able to do that because they have a president who is a yes, who can't say no to the prime minister, and who goes and signs a written declaration and says they are satisfied when they are not satisfied? when they're not satisfied. Why? Because they cannot say, because they are so much a member of the party that they cannot separate their responsibility to the country from their responsibility to the party that elected them. And that cannot be right. And as you said, it is one thing to put Anthony Carmona, it's one thing to, because he came from the International Court of Justice and he did not have a history of being a politician, as far as I'm aware. He became very political. I must say he did not leave on a good note, did himself a great disservice. Look at what he did. He destroyed his reputation. By the time he left the presidency post, nobody wanted to hear from him except I don't know who. And I know him well personally. I know him personally. These are people I know personally. So you can imagine, you move away from Anthony Carmona, which is a UNC appointment. You move away from Paul May Weeks, according to the judge, and you take somebody who's sitting in the bowels of the PNM. And then you make your president of the Senate from the bowels of the PNM. Party card people. You putting them there. And you are thumbing your nose at the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We said we could do it. And what you could do about it, not one thing. You can't do one thing about it.
And that's the bad part. But Karen, you raise a point there that's very important. And a lot of people in Trinidad and Tobago, many people in Trinidad miss this point. Many people want to say that the president is ceremonial. It's just a ceremonial president. The president don't have no powers. But, however, I did a little homework. It says the president makes the following appointment after consultation with the prime minister and the leader of the opposition: Chief Justice, Ombudsman, members of the Election and Boundaries Commission, members of the Environmental Commission, Auditor General, members of the Integrity Commission, members of the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, the JLSC, members of the Law Reform Commission, and, Karen, what is important to know that, this is very important to know that, in certain appointments, the president doesn't have to consult with the prime minister. Am I correct about that?
So there are very few of those, very few in thing, and that is Judicial Legal Service Commission. Those appointments, let me see, the judges of Section 104, Judicial Legal Service Commission appoints the members to the Judicial Legal Service Commission, which is responsible for the appointment of judges on the advice of the judges are appointed on the advice of the Judicial Legal Service Commission, not on the advice of the Prime Minister. But the Chief Justice is appointed on advice of the Prime Minister. And all those examples you just read out, in fact, support the point that the president is a ceremonial head of state. Because as I said to you at the beginning, when it comes to all of those appointments, except the Judicial Legal Service Commission, that's one exception, or where the Constitution otherwise provides, where, for example, appointment of 9 senators in her own discretion, the revocation of a leader of opposition in his judgment or her judgment, that's under 83.4, appointment to the opposition of leader of opposition in his own deliberate judgment. There are cases, and the case I gave you of the state of emergency requiring her or him to give a written declaration he or she is satisfied. Every example you just gave me requires the president to act on the advice of the prime minister. And in Act Section 8, it says that she must do that, or he must do that. It says that where and I'm looking for this actual section, where it actually says that unless otherwise provided in the Constitution, where the president is required to act on the advice of the prime minister, the president shall act in accordance with the cabinet. That is why all those examples you gave me support the notion that people will say, well, the president is just a ceremonial head, because once it says on the advice, which all of them say on the advice, it in effect means that the president must do what the government says. And the reason for that is not wrong, because as I started with this discussion, the president is the head of the executive. The president is the repository of executive power. So unless they have these provisions in the Constitution, a president would be effectively an executive president, as President Trump is in United States. But in our Constitution, once the words say on the advice of the Prime Minister, the Constitution says that the president shall act in accordance with the advice of what the decision of the cabinet. There's no this once it is done, but where she has discretion or he has discretion, or where he or she has judgment, then you know that our president is not just a ceremonial head of state. So to conclude on that point, all those examples
Karen,
you gave me.
Karen, hold that thought right there. We're going to go for a quick station identification. Hold that thought right there. Folks, it's in the village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. We have with us Karen Nunez Tesheira, and we're having a vibrant discussion here about the presidency and the role of the president and the new president-elect or president-elect. And we'd like to say a special welcome to Tommy. And when we come back, Karen,
Tommy,
Tommy, have a very important question for you. And we're going to get to that question when we come back. It's in the village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Stick and stay. We'll be right back after this message.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM, the most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey, the most influential name in Caribbean radio, WZYE 95.9 FM.
We are back with you. It's in the village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Of course, we have with us, I mean, people want to say the former Minister of Finance.
You are listening to WZYE LP 95.
Karen Nunez Tesheira, who is well learned, so to speak, and is giving us a thesis, should I say, on the Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago, and bringing us into the 22nd century with respect to many things that we think about the Constitution and how we address the president, that the president is just ceremonial, the president don't have no powers, it's just a figurehead. Yeah, the president, there's certain things that the president may not have powers in order to do, but there are many other things that the president has significant powers in order that he or she can act upon without consultation from the prime minister or the opposition leader. So here's the quick question, Karen. Someone said, and I like to call the person's name. So Eugene Julian asks, he says, ask Karen who will be her selection for the president.
Yeah, that was something someone else asked me. I thought Douglas Mendes. Mendes might be. I thought Douglas Mendes would be a good selection, but he probably wouldn't take it because he's built up such a good reputation. He's not going to want to throw it away by being president, because I don't think any of them have popularity on stage.
I know Israel can have two chances.
No. Israel Khan could never. Israel Khan could be a member of the opposition. He could be a member of the opposition, an opposition thing, but he cannot be. And it's not, again, I know Israel Khan. Because when I did law at Caville initially, he was a direct entry from Canada. He had a first degree and he'd come from Canada. And Israel Khan, senior counselor, may be respectful of his position. It's the same person he is today that he was then. I could say that about him, except he had black hair and it was curly, like a curly afro. But the same kind of rebellious kind of thing. His personality has not changed. That's not what you want from a president. You want a president who going in there with gloves ready to fight the government. You go in opposition. This is what people have to get, must be clear to people. I know it may be difficult for them to accept it, but the president is the head of the executive. And our executive, she or he, the power of the executive reposes in the president. But the president cannot run the country. It is the elected government to run the country. Do you want a president who going in there ready to fight with the government? It is not in the interest of the country to have, and he may not be like that, but he certainly gives the impression that he's ready to go in there and duke it out with the government. That's not what you want. You want a president who is respected, held in high esteem, has independence of thought, and has the respect of the people, not of the party, not any party acts, not any party people, but the people of Trinidad. Not everybody, we'll never get everybody, but the people of Trinidad and Tobago, so that they have the confidence that when called upon to act in an independent manner on a judgment, you feel confident that it will be the case. And there's no question, you do not want someone to go in there who is going in there in a what you call pugilistic fighting way. That's not good for the country. How could that be good for the country? That cannot be good for the country. If you want to be in the opposition and you want to talk, maybe you'd be a very good person in the opposition. Maybe they should recruit him in the opposition. He would be good for the opposition. The only thing is he might change his mind and want to go on the other side and join the other side.
So Karen, Tommy has a question for you. Go ahead, Tommy.
That being said, do you think it's in the best interest of the people to elect the president?
The people, make it a people thing. You mean like how they do in America?
Yes.
Yeah, but then they have to change, the whole system has to change. Where which is what they've been talking about. I mean, I knew when Mr. Manning was there, he was looking at constitution form. People may not recognize it. He put together a whole team, even persons with whom he may not have had the best. Selvin Ryan. I mean, Selvin Ryan seemed to have a personal animus against Mr. Manning. They came from the same San Fernando village, the same area, they knew each other. And Selvin Ryan, God rest his soul, seemed to have a personal animus against Mr. Manning, but he had him on the team, and he had all the thinkers and the constitutional experts to look at a reform of our constitution and have an executive president. But having an executive president would mean that you would not have this tension between what is the role of the head of state, president, and the role of the prime minister. You wouldn't have that tension because all the executive powers would be vested in the president as executive president, but then they would not be, it would have to be a different system. So you would have him elected by the people, but America has a whole system with the electoral college and all that. We don't have that. But the idea of an executive president may be the answer. And then the idea would be that the members of parliament should be focused on being representatives of the people, like how the congressmen in America are. They focus on their district and representing the people in their district, the congressmen. And then you would have separate and apart from the members of the parliament, you would then have your cabinet, who would not be members of parliament, who would then be seeing about policy and seeing about the general governance of the country. So it will need a whole overhaul. And Mr. Manning had spent, where I was in the government at the time, and he was very much I think he was very committed to it. And he was going all over the country talking about Machiavelli and talking about this executive presidency and so on. So there are different models. To answer your question, there are different models. Yes, maybe the time has come that we look at the executive presidency, if for one reason only, that the executive president, if we use American model to some extent, because there are various iterations of that model, that the people elect the president, and then the party then, when it comes to the senators and it comes to the members of parliament, then you have it by the party persons going and representing the party. But the people, all the people, regardless of party allegiance, they are the ones who decide who they want to have as their president.
Quick question. What does Guyana have?
Huh?
What does Guyana have at this time?
They have an I looked at it before I was doing some research on it. They have an executive president, but it seems so their president has the powers, much of the powers of which is our executive president would have, so that I think they have a prime minister. I'm not too clear on their system, so I don't want to go and speak on it in any detail, because what I did discover was, Nigeria has a model of executive presidency. America has their own model of executive presidency. So they're very different iterations of that. But I think the idea is that for Trinidad and Tobago to get away from this situation, or what is the head of state? And if the head of state has discretion and has the judgment, and therefore you want a head of state who has independence of thought and independence of action, and is not just going to be a yes man, then what it is saying is that what the current constitutional provisions allow a party, which is what this government has done, to say, well, guess what? We could do what we want because the constitution allows us to do it. And we take in a party person. And if you don't like it, too bad, because the constitution lets us do it. Section 24, section 27, they will go on and tell you how they could do it, and you can't do one thing about it. Now, when you do that, you are insulting the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because what you are saying is you're putting a party person there. And whether or not Christine Kanglu will be independent, from the get-go, you're not going to think she'll be independent. You're not going to think she's going to be independent. How could you think she's going to be independent? Why would you think she would be independent when you need her to be independent? And she is doing herself a disservice. I will be surprised. I will be surprised if she weathers those 5 years and does not come into find herself into a heavy criticism and rue the day that she said that she would take that office. I would be surprised. That's why a lot of them don't take it, you know. You spend your whole life, like people like Douglas Mendes. People talk about Gillian Lucky. I think she might have been a good person too. She shows independence and she shows fairness and objectivity. She sounds like a good person too, that people would respect.
Karen, you do too, you know. Karen, you do too, you know.
Yeah, but they wouldn't want me because they see me as and I wouldn't, listen, they would see me as not towing the line. I'm not going to toe, I am going to do what is right. I am going to do what I can, right. And they're not doing that. Why do you think I'm not in there? Listen, listen, the Prime Minister said that I must come and tell him in a room who it is that told me that they were offering me a senator position. He knows who it is. And he knows I am not lying. He knows I am not lying. I would not lie about something like that. And I told the person, I want no part of that government. I have no respect for the people there. I have no respect for your Prime Minister. I'm sorry, Mr. Dr. Rowley, but you have given me no reason. The kind of things that you come out of, you have said, the disrespect you have shown to women, talking about what how you must treat a woman like a golf course or something. And then when it comes to domestic violence, he said, I can't tell you which man to put in your bed. What kind of nastiness is that from a Prime Minister? And the other things he has said, disgraceful. He's disgraceful as a Prime Minister. That's my opinion. I don't have respect for him. So, and not only that, it looks as though he has to do the bidding of certain people, because up to now he cannot pass the act that will be Procurement Act. Why you won't pass the procurement legislation? The gambling legislation, why don't you pass it? The Revenue Authority, why don't you work with Interpol more? Look at Barbados. Barbados they set up the Interpol Center for the Caribbean in Barbados. Do you know that they had just 2 days ago in Jamaica, $80 million worth of cocaine? And I am sure the Interpol was the advisor behind that. Do you know that just in September last year, they call it Trigger 7, working Interpol? I wrote it down before I came here, but why this government won't do that? Why won't this government? So I have no respect for them. None at all. None at all. So they wouldn't want me, because I would not put up with it. I will not toe the line, because I do not need validation from anybody to tell me who I am. I do not need them to tell me who I am. I do not need to be invited to their homes. I do not need to go to their parties. I do not need them to tell me I am somebody. And this government has been such a disgrace to the people. And the sad thing is that, well, the poor people, what can I say? The people who are supposed to be supporting and protecting the man in the street, who is the one who put them there? How have they benefited under this government? How have they benefited? They would never select me, because I want no part of this government. I'm sorry, and that's how I feel.
So, Karen, with that in mind, do you think Senator Nigel de Freitas' selection as the Senate President was a good choice?
But I know these people. It's so sad when you ask me these things. So I mean, because I can't think of anybody that you'll ask me about that I don't. He's from Tobago.
Yeah, but Karen, so I mean, any question you ask, you're going to know the person. So if you start to ask the question,
Yeah, I know, but that's that is what has happened to me now. It's
you know
gotten
too
to the
much
point.
people.
Anyway, but
That's
I
too
don't
much.
know anything much about Nigel de Freitas, except I know he's Tobagonian, and I know he has acted as deputy president of the Senate and acted as president of the Senate when Christine Ganglu would have been absent for whatever reason. I know he was a minister in the Ministry of Agriculture. So it's par for the course. I mean, they're just doing what they're doing. They don't care what you think. That's what they're telling you. They're thumbing their nose at you. They're saying, we don't care what you think. This is the party in control, and we will reap it. You see, you know. There's something called karma. Because when you set precedents like this, don't complain. Don't complain. Don't complain.
Miss Karen,
On the other foot.
One minute, Anna. 1 minute, Anna. Go ahead,
No,
Karen.
just saying, don't complain when he's on the other foot, because you set the precedent. It's party. We dealing with party, not country. That's what we dealing with. And we don't care what you think. We do not care what you think because we can do it and we're doing it and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the level of arrogance and hubris that this government shows to the people of this country.
Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, Miss Karen, I'm going to shift the gears a little bit.
Okay, now, reverse or neutral or drive?
You can drive stick shift too. Okay,
I can't.
All right. Electricity is going up. Water rates, I don't know what's going on with them. People don't get no water for 3 months and all kind of thing, but they still have to pay the bill. Salaries are at 2030 level, 2013. Correct me if I'm wrong. How? And you want to add property tax, and you've taken away the free things from the seniors, some of the free things, bus ride, they ride on the ferry, something like that. Now, and I don't know if there's a max in the NIS benefits monthly. How is this going to help the citizens, those poorest citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, adding all this more taxation burden on persons? What don't you think you're going to infuriate the voters even more?
Well, again, I always like to say, to be fair, Trinidad is one of the countries where we have one of the lowest rates in the world for electricity, lowest rates in the world for water rates. And also the government has in place provisions for those persons who to assist persons in certain income groups with their electricity bills and their water rates. So I can't, when it comes to when it comes to matters like that, it's a worldwide issue with inflation. You see what's going on. I was just, as I said, was in London, and my unfortunate situation was that they shut down the rail, the trains, and the buses completely for 5 days because
so you were stuck at Victoria Station.
Huh? Well,
you were stuck at Victoria.
Right, for 5 days for the same argument that salaries have not gone up and the cost of living. That is a problem all over the world. So I don't want to be unfair. The regulated industries, we have not had a hike in electricity, water, and you can say there's inefficiency, and we can go down the argument with that. What I will say, and that is the thing, so I cannot be that harsh with the government because it's playing out all over the world. It's a problem all over the world. I spoke to someone today, and they were saying to me that they loved where they were living in England, in London, but they had to move. Why? Because the energy service, their heating was not efficient, and their heating bill was it was not sustainable. They could not afford the electricity bill. So I don't want to go down that road in criticizing the government that way. What I will do is this. I will say that the government did little or nothing and they don't like the word. I heard the Prime Minister say diversification, like if it's a bad word. And that's what I understood he did. But the creating opportunities for us to earn foreign exchange and creating entrepreneurial opportunities for the micro and the chow kings. That is the failing of this government. They have done nothing. They have lacked in implementation, lacked in execution, and therefore, when people are visited with these increases where they can't afford, when you go in the supermarket, $10 for a bunch of size. I mean, I see the milk $16 for a thing. I mean, they've gone up by 30, 40%, but that's happening all over the world. But what is the difference is this. This government sat down, in my respectful opinion, in all these last 7 years, and instead of creating new avenues of earning foreign exchange or earning a living, creating an entrepreneurial society, going into cultural tourism, going into agro industry, doing the pan industry. We are the home of, I don't care who making steel, man. Trinidad is the home of steel, man. And you had the opportunity to start up steel band factories, not only the steel band factories, package and market it, and have. I heard there's an app already that you can go on and you can learn to play the pan on your pan. They had so many opportunities to create avenues for persons to come out of poverty, to become to be able to earn a decent living. And they have done nothing. What they have done is selling you foolishness, like, oh, when the rich get richer, you will benefit. Well, you know that does not work. That the University of Chicago, the Chicago boys, the trickle-down theory of economics has been disproved. Margaret Thatcher lost her government, Reaganomics and Thatcherism. It has been proven not to be so. The only people that get rich is the rich stay richer, because you know what? They do not invest in the economy. They take it and invest on the stock exchange and reinvest their money on shares and stocks, but not in, that is according to the research that has been done. So the idea of you telling me that when the rich get richer, you will benefit, it hasn't happened. Guess why? Because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And you have failed this country and fail the people, and you have failed them. So when you give me those examples, my answer to that is this. Those problems are problems that are being felt all over the world, in America, Canada, Europe, all over the world. You are faced with the problems of inflation, with the Ukraine-Russian war, with supply chain management issues, with the issue of this carbon emission, which they're responsible for, by the way. That's an international problem, no matter what part of the world. But what is failing of this government is that the opportunity to develop streams for people to become entrepreneurs, to become self-sufficient, to become earning instead of being dependent on the state. Why didn't you do that? You had 7 years to do that. That procurement legislation, you won't pass it because you're giving out your contracts who you want to give out. There's no oversight, no monitoring of the contracts, and most contracts and most business in this country involves the government. So everybody has to be quiet.
Funny you should say that, Miss Karen, because a video Anselm shared today with persons in La Horquita tried to set up a little thing to, keep the guys from going into criminal activity, and whomever came and knocked down the edifices, taking away their chances of trying to start a little business. So,
and this government and only promoting the people, the big business, right? Why don't you do some things? Take these people out of the CPEP, take these people out of the URP, but you know why? They must be the foot soldiers, you see. They have to be available. Because if they start to make money, they start to feel themselves, they start to feel self-confident, they start to have self-worth, they start to say, but wait, I could be in business too. You can't let them start to think so, You can't let them think so, You got to keep them in that mindset that they have to stay at the bottom there and be dependent on you for their survival and for the little pittance you're paying them. And guess what? The pittance can't mind them because it can't pay the grocery bill. So they're going to get involved in illegal activity, which is why it ended with a murder rate of over 600 and something in this country. And most of the murders committed with unlicensed firearms, gang-related. What do you mean by gang-related? What do you mean by that? You're sitting down there, your CCTV, you heard the disgrace in the customs. The Minister of National Security says that most of the guns and drugs are coming in through the containers. And the acting commissioner, acting controller of customs came out and said that nearly all the scanners are not working except for one, and that going on for months. And when it's going out of the country, none of the scanners working. You don't know that? Up to now, you can't set up a DNA. Up to now, you can't set up a ballistic system in this country. Up to now, you can't work with Interpol like how Barbados has done. Up to now, you can't do that. It's so hard that you don't know the answers to the problems in this country. So you see, when you tell me that, that's why I have no respect for this government. And anybody who is in this government is there because, well, God, the government controls everything. What other business is going on in this country? There's nothing going on. Every contract in some form or fashion involves the government. So everybody have to stay quiet. This is disgraceful. I'm sorry. They don't have to like me because you know why? I speak my mind and they have nothing on me. I have no cocoa in the sun. That is their problem. They must look high and low to find out something that they could use against me. Unlike them, they have nothing they can use against me. So they won't come, but I'm begging the Prime Minister to release the Commission of Inquiry into Seattle because he went when they had the party convention. In one breath, he talks about this person who took out their money out of Serbia, but he didn't call the person's name. And then the next breath talks about how we weathered the storm of this Seattle financial crisis. Who was the Minister of Finance then? It wasn't the same person.
You know, Karen, most people know that I am a supporter of the People's National Movement, and I don't hide it. I like to be transparent, and I just tell them, 34 years ago, before I get married, my mother-in-law told me a liar has no memory, right? So I like to tell you the truth. I don't have to remember anything, right?
But I don't support nobody.
But Karen, when I heard the Prime Minister said he don't have a problem making the rich richer so they can help the poor, he totally lost me. I was like, no, he didn't say that. I was like, no. That must be his brother said that. I had to go back and listen to it again to make sure that he said that. I said, man, how could you? And I'm going to say it, Karen, right? He stated, Karen, this is his words. He stated that he could be the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago. That's his words and not mine. And I always have the tape for him to say that. Because yeah, he said it. He said it. I have the tape to prove it because what happened? People say, "Oh, Wall Street, you're making it up," and I have the tape to show it. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. Right?
What did he say?
And when I say it, and Karen, I was so disappointed.
No, the part about the blackest man. What did he say? What did he say? Why did he say that?
There was some comment with respect to Kamala Prasad-Processor, and he was because Kamala Prasad-Processor had said something. You know, you need to help people. Right. And you need to help your people.
That hurt him.
Right. And that hurt him.
A lot of people agree with
that. He came out and said that. So I was like, wait, whoa.
That hurt. That when you say something, you know, when somebody says something that it's song, you know, you have what. Let me just say this. My father used to say, God rest his soul, he said there's something called pecan and pecan. He said, pecan is a joke and I don't really mean it. It's not true. But pecan is true joke. So I think she gave him
Yeah. Tell that joke, but it's true. And when you tell that joke, that's true. It has really stink. It has hit in the bottom to the sub-basement. And you have to come back with something. So that's when he said that statement. And when I was sending the tape. I have the tape because I tell you, a liar has no memory. I don't want to lie on the man.
You can say it. If it is a tape and he said it, you can say it. It's his words.
Yes, and listen to this. Not only that, Karen, but
what did he say? What did he say? You're not saying what he said.
No, he said when they called him and Oreo and Kamala said he shouldn't help his people, he said, if you look at me, I could be the blackest man in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? I'm paraphrasing. But he used the blackest man in his statement. Right? I send it for you.
But I don't understand the point, though. Maybe I'm missing your point. What's the point of being blackest man?
Well, the point was, how could Kamala Prasad-Processor say something like that when you look at me and you look at my
that's why she said it.
Right? You look at my
you ever heard the gold breadfruit? You ever heard them say that about when they want to tell you But she said it was an Oreo. It hurt.
No, it hurt him. It hurt him. It hurt him. It hurt him.
It hurt him. It hurt him.
It really hurt him.
Because the thing about it is, and understandably, that's politics. You use what is to your advantage, and
but Karen, wait a minute, Karen, you don't have to go down into the gutter though. And I believe that the politics in Trinidad and Tobago have gone into the sub-basement.
Sub-basement, not even the basement.
Not the basement, the sub-basement, right? And I think, right, that's unacceptable. And Karen, we have to give you credit. You ran a campaign that was above the penthouse.
I don't want to be above it. Listen, that is the one thing that I am so sorry about. That there's this perception that I am above the penthouse in the sense that I didn't go in the gutter.
Karen,
I am
Karen,
for the people.
No, Karen, you're taking it incorrectly.
Okay.
What I'm saying, the way you handled your campaign, right? You didn't go into the sub-basement when people wanted you to come into the sub-basement. Michelle Obama say, when they go low, we go high. And I'm saying that. Right. When they go when they go low, we go high, right?
Yes.
When they go low, we go high.
That didn't work out though. Hillary didn't get elected. Like Trump sub-basement worked.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that you didn't go in the sub-basement, which is low, and above the penthouse is high. You kept it high.
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying. I'm using an analogy of the penthouse because a penthouse is up here and a sub-basement is below the basement. Right?
Okay.
So you decide not to go below the basement to them because, Karen, we have to be honest. I took up the fight when Stuart Young said about potongs and termites. I didn't like that. And I took up the fight, and Karen, you never even said anything about it. That's what I'm saying. You went high.
It's not high, I think you don't. I think you misunderstand. It's not high because I don't really agree with Michelle Obama. Matter of fact, I'm not one of her admirers. I think she and Barack Obama are great disappointments. Great disappointments. And
I agree with that.
You living in America.
But I think the statement made sense though.
No. She don't. No. It backfired. You don't want. I understood what she was trying to say. Yes, but you see, politics. You can't go that high. Right? Because look at how, no, you don't go as low as Trump because now you're taking the country in the wrong direction. But I didn't necessarily agree with what she said. I understood what she meant. But in my case, it is not a question of me taking the high road because politics is politics. You can't go into politics and not understand you're a political animal. And I think in a way I am a political animal and I'm good for myself. If you put me to the test, I will give you as good as you give me. But I think what it is that they didn't matter to me. Who were they? This I so indifferent to them. They were talking to themselves, and I don't even want to talk about it in terms of matter of fact.
So let me leave that. Let me leave that. Someone said.
But I will tell you though, Slim. I will tell you though.
Yeah.
Having said that, I really so I don't even worry about that. I don't take that on. But I will say, though, that I went to cinema with my 2 grandchildren. One is 5, one is 10. And I took them to see Avatar in 2 o'clock set showing of it. So the cinema was basically empty on that day. And I'm sitting on there with my 2 little grandchildren. This man, I'm at the lower end of the, the seating. And he is where there's the aisle. He's at the first row of the upper thing on the other side. That man left where he was sitting, came over to me, and I didn't even understand what he said at first, but he said to me, loser. So I didn't hear him. I said, what did you say? He said, loser. Well, when I finished with him, he went and sat down in his seat again. I'm talking Trinidad. He sat down in his seat again, shut him out, and left early because when I finished with him, he couldn't open his mouth. I say, you want to know what is losing? I'll tell you what is losing. When in 2014, you got challenged and you got 18,000 votes. And when you came this year, you lose 10,000 of those votes. That is losing. You want to know what is losing? when you had 180,000 members when you had 18,000 votes for leader, and in 2022 you had 130,000 members in the PNM, and you only get 8,000 votes. Where the 10,000 votes went and more, that is losing. You want to know what is losing? When in your whole constituency of thousands of PNM members, you could only muster 188 votes. That is losing. And you want to know what is final losing? Will go down in the annals of the PNM conventions. You know, when you're looking at high points and low points, if you say 12,000 members, Colin Bush said 14,000, so between 12 and 14,000. Between the 12 to 14,000 people, you know how many people voted that day of the annual convention? 844. That is losing. They came to fact. So if you want to tell me about losing, look how much votes you seem to have lost. That is losing. When I finished with that gentleman, he sat down in his seat, had nothing more. He was embarrassed because I did not come to him. I did not attack him. He came, left his seat, came over to me with my grandchildren sitting down there with me, little children sitting down there, and coming to tell me that. He thinks he could tell me that and I would take that. He's playing with the wrong senorita. I fixed him so good. He sat down in his seat like a little mouse, and then after that, he's so ashamed, he leave halfway through the show. So don't think I am not Michelle Obama thinking. Those people mean nothing to me, and I'm indifferent to them. They don't even mean anything to me.
You buy popcorn for him? You buy popcorn for him, Karen? You buy some popcorn for him?
About popcorn for my grandchildren.
And my grandson. Yeah, 1 minute. Let me just ask this quick question.
They call me grand.
Yeah.
What he told you, grand? What he told, and I stood up, you know. I didn't. He messed with the wrong person. I stood up, and whoever was in that cinema, I told him what is the meaning of losing. I said,
so no, emasculated him.
What is losing?
Yeah. I saw you film, boy.
She emasculated him.
He went like a little mouse, and sit down in the corner. I'm telling you, not a word. Not a shame him, because you come in and attacking me. I come with my grandchildren to watch a show. You come in and leave your seat to try to embarrass me in front of the public. You're doing it with the wrong person, sir. You're doing it with the wrong. You're playing with the wrong person. So don't think because I don't answer them is because they are not worthy of me answering them. They are not.
You don't get them oxygen.
Not only that, they are not worthy. They are not worthy of my responding to them.
So Karen, here's a question, right? It says, so Karen, had you won as political leader, how would you have changed the culture of the PNM?
Oh, for one of the things I would really push on is the question of entrepreneurship. This is one thing I'm very passionate about. One of the things that the PNM needs, this idea of the rich getting richer. No. We got to stop that idea. This is a government of the people. We are a young country. We are a country made up of people who came from slavery and indentureship. They were left our own devices by the colonial masters to try and work out our own government with no education. How many people had a secondary education, much less a university education? Left us our own devices. So my commitment would be, number one, is creating new opportunities for developing entrepreneurial opportunities for our young people who definitely need not only guidance, but need to be taken out of that URP, CPEP thing that they label to which they have been attached to them. I would also push as much as I can for the passage of the procurement legislation. I will have the vote as leader of the party. We have to pass that because that is an opportunity for a rampant corruption. I would also be very much concerned about gambling, money laundering. I would also work. Well, you see, the fact of the matter is, Anslim, I am not. I am quite aware that the opinions that I give are not opinions that find favor with the persons who have a vested interest in keeping things as they are. So I am a strong person. I am a person of principle. And I think having gone through CL Financial and all the other things that I would have gone through in my political life, that I would not be deterred. I would not be discouraged. I would push for reform within the party, and this idea of, for example, in the selection of our persons from different constituencies, I think I would want a selection that truly puts people in those positions who have a commitment to development of the country, who have the qualifications to be able to do that. So if I was in the head of the party, I think the whole what you will call it, the culture would definitely change. But of course, it didn't happen. But if I had been there, I would not be deterred. I would not be deterred.
So,
I would
so,
not.
so
I would
Karen,
not.
Tommy, you wanted to say something?
No, not this.
Okay,
I was
so Karen, we
Tommy,
have
I have a feeling you don't like a lot of what I say.
no, Karen, I love you.
Okay.
I
Is that
love
Tommy
the
saying
way
that?
I
yeah.
actually I missed you on the show. I
Oh,
enjoy
okay.
every time you come to the show.
Oh, thank you. Because I sometimes think, sometimes I feel that PNM party people feel that if you say something that is not complimentary or is not, that somehow you are being disloyal. I'm not being disloyal. I love our Trinidad and Tobago, and I still think the PNM is the best party there is, but the leadership is not good for the country.
You know, Karen, I echo the same sentiments, and let me tell you, I get beat up, but I was at Chumakak Bubili. I get beat up all kind of thing, but it's a good thing my back broad. But
I
Karen,
go in and find where to mark. I go in and find where that is because I hear about it too often. I go in and look for them.
yeah. They're going through macaque, man, and they say that, and look at that. You know what a macaque is? A macaque is a monkey.
Monkey. And I know
Yeah,
what true means. I know what
true,
true. My
right,
father used to speak patois. My father
right.
was,
So,
my
so,
father,
so you
my
see the
father
kind of name
spoke
we do it.
patois.
You see the name they give us. You see. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but don't worry about that.
I'm worrying about that. Anderson Wilson says, "Go to the hell of a class, my lady." Right.
Oh, that's
Another
so
person
sweet.
says, Anderson says, Wall Street. You see why I like Karen speaking like a boss.
Oh, that's so sweet.
You
It
see.
makes, when people tell me, why you keep on doing this, I do it because I love my country. I love Trinidad and Tobago. Do you know, when I was 18 and my father wanted me to go to England to do law, I begged him. I begged him to let me stay in the Caribbean. Nearly every member of my family has lived in the States or American citizenship. They have American citizenship. I want to say I almost had to bribe him to allow me to stay and go to school in the Caribbean. All my education has been from the University of the West Indies. Every bit, international relations, MBA, everything has been, I am a Caribbean person through and through.
No, Karen. No, Anderson Wilson also says, I support Karen for leadership of the PNM. Karen, you have been.
Too late, it's too late.
Yeah. But I mean, no, Karen, it's never too late. It's never too late.
Yeah, well,
Yeah. So,
I know
Karen.
if I were the leader, I know
Mm,
if I were in that position,
mm.
because since they have not been able to find out anything against me to use against me, one can conclude there's nothing they have against me, can find, because they would have brought it. They keep with the entire thing about CIB, and up to now they can't bring the person to say who told me. Why didn't go after I love the governor, the former governor, but why didn't go after him or Inspector of Financial Institutions? Why you only there with me? Why you don't go to the people who really have that responsibility, but you and supposed to advise me, not the other way around. Why don't you go after them? So the point I'm making is that I think that I'm independent enough. I think having been Minister of Finance, I think I understand what one is required in terms of running a country, and also what I think we need to do to diversify the country, and that we do have the ability to do that. We have the capacity to do that. We have the people we are a talented set of people We have the education through all those educational institutions, much of which was Mr. Manning. Mr. Manning was the one who pushed that. He wanted us to become a knowledge economy. He said 2020, we must move from a service economy to a knowledge economy. You know, when people criticize him, they don't know you're criticizing him, but you don't know the thinking behind it. Remember with the big buildings? The whole thing about the big buildings, every many big buildings. Why? But you don't want you don't want us to own our own buildings. You want us to keep renting.
Exactly.
Renting and renting. Who was pushing that big building stock? Who was benefiting from the big building stock? The Ministry of Education and Ministry of Attorney General. We own it. We own the Ministry of Finance building. We own it. The Central Bank building. We own it. Why must we be renting out for $23 million a month? Why must we be doing that? Right? Why must we be doing that? And talking this big building nonsense. Who is benefiting from that?
Exactly.
Sitting on there making easy money and not making anything. And yes, the rich will get richer, but they're not getting richer to help to build the country, though. That is why I am sorry, Anselm. I speak so strongly.
No, Karen, it speaks truth to power. We love, that's why we call it in the village. We call it in the village. When you come in the village, we want you to speak truth to power. We don't want you to come in and tiptoe around the tulips.
No,
you don't want anybody coming here. And if you tiptoe around the tulips, no, that's why we have these storms.
But I don't want to be unfair.
No. We understand that. But Karen,
yes,
here's what Hailey asks this question. He says, Miss Karen, when you say PNM is the best party, in what way do you think?
I think in the structure, and think the whole, if you look at read the constitution of the party, and you know, when Eric Williams is the founder of the party, in terms of how the power of the people to really participate in the supposedly in the determining who is the leadership of the party. When you read the provisions of the Constitution, the idea of the Constitution looking beyond just being having a role as a party or function as a party, but having a wider responsibility to the country, to the nation. The way they set up all those committees, the education committee, constitutional committee, the different committees, maybe they may not be functioning, but the whole structure has remained a good structure if it were, if in fact it was being, what should I say? If in fact many of the, if it was being implemented in the interest of the people. So the idea of having all those various committees, having the general council, having the central executive, all those structures as you go up the line, all those structures are important for governance, and those are good governance structures. So I like what the PNM stands for. I like the structure of what the PNM is. But people, as in any situation, it's people that run organizations. And as we are seeing with the appointment of Christine Kangaloo, the Constitution allows for it, and they can do it.
No,
Should they do it? No.
We had some rumors floating around. I mean, they was floating, but they weren't floating very low. They were floating very high. They were floating above the sun somewhere, above the moon. if you want to call that floating. So a blogger who is a friend of ours here in the village floated this idea that somehow Dr. Rowley wanted to become the president, and he was going to resign from the prime ministership and be somehow appoint someone as the prime minister, and that prime minister will then appoint him as the president. And I told the person, that statement that you make really didn't make much sense, because there were so many things that had to happen in order for that to happen. And so far, I've been proven correct that didn't happen. And is there any possibility of that happening? I mean,
well, it could happen, because
it's impossible.
Why it's not more than, it goes beyond possibility, because the same constitution gives you the circumstances in which a president can no longer act. And one dies, obviously, mentally incapable. Then there are reasons why, which are negative in terms of saying that the president is acting in a way that is inimical to the interests of the country, but also when the president resigns. Now, if the president resigns, then the same electoral college can then decide who will be the new president. The president can step down, and a new president can be elected. And if the party leadership says that they believe that the next president and the prime minister, because during his term of office, the prime minister can also resign and can appoint someone else as prime minister. And whilst that person is appointed prime minister, the president can then resign because there's provision for that, and then the prime minister can go into that office as president, because he has said that he is not going. That's the last time he's saying it now. One time he said he's not going, then he said he's going back up again. Now I hear he say he's not going up again. And then you're hearing other rumors, which I can't say because I was told it in confidence. So one of them I will not say because I was said in confidence, as I said. But that one has been floating around a lot. And that's because how old is he now? How old is he now?
72,
70 something. I don't think he has Colin Imber doing what he wants. I mean, when I was Minister of Finance, I certainly could not. Colin Imbert, with all due respect to him as Minister of Finance, seems to act more with more prime ministerial powers than the prime minister himself. It seems as though the prime minister has divested those powers to the Minister of Finance. So I think our prime minister achieved his objective, which was to become prime minister, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him for wanting to be that. He's absolutely within his right. He's been in the PNM for over 30 years. He has every right. There were a lot of them who want to be prime minister, and he had every right to want to be prime minister. People saw him as the next in line to be prime minister after Mr. Manning. And when he and Mr. Manning fell out, which I had no part, I was no part of any of that, and he was made a backbencher. I can very well understand why he could not wait for the day that he became prime minister. So the fact that he achieved that objective and he got it, kudos to him. Now I think he's tired of being prime minister.
Let me ask you a question. Deputy political leader of the PNM was recently announced. We have Dr. Nyan Gasby Dolly.
Yes, I saw that.
We have Colin Imbert. Right? And who's the next one, boy?
Somebody was removed though. There was somebody removed.
Fitzgerald Hines. Fitzgerald Hines was removed.
Oh, well.
Yeah. The representative.
I'm sure he took it as gracefully.
The MP for my constituency. Well, no. The MP for Laventille West, not Chumaka Laventille. He's supposed to be the MP. And who's the third one? It's not. Who's the third one? Tommy, who's the third deputy? You know?
Oh gosh,
I can't remember, but I remember.
Who?
I can't remember who it is. But it doesn't really matter. The leader is the one that's important, because when you look at the Constitution, it says in Section 76(1), the leader of the party who has the majority support of the members of the House shall be the Prime Minister. So that is the key one, the leader of the party. Not
Rohan Sananan is the next one.
Oh, Rohan Sananan, okay.
Yeah, Rohan Sananan. Amando never run for a constituency yet, but his minister works. We discuss that another time.
Well, I could say that about me too. When I became Minister of Finance, I was as shocked as the rest of the country when I was made Minister of Finance. I understood it afterwards, because I really bought into the 2020 vision. I really believed in it. And Prime Minister, I think, saw that I really believed in it. And I didn't know that's what he saw. But I came from lower school. So if you want to go down that road, I don't want to, Rohan Sananan, see that as being a disqualifying factor, really.
No, but Karen, I have to be honest with you. I don't think it's a disqualifying factor, but I think that, right? I mean, you may have been in that situation, and Mr. Manning knew why he put you in that situation. But I think sometimes, for example, this new senator, right? I don't know him, but all the other people who've been toiling in the vineyard for so long in the PNM, right? And this person comes from a business background, from his business straight into the Senate, leap over all these people who've been toiling in the vineyard for all these years, and all of a sudden, this person come out of nowhere, come from planet Xenoranius, and comes down and lands, and all these
But
other
that's
stuff.
what you think. That's
Well,
what
yeah,
you think. That's what you think.
That's true.
That's what you think.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah,
don't,
yeah.
you do
Correct is
not
right.
know why. You
Correct is
don't
right.
know why.
I've heard some things. I've heard some
Okay,
things
there
with
you go.
respect to Balize House. I've heard some things with respect to Balize House, and he has an air conditioned business, and
I don't know. I don't know anything about him. But what I
No,
do
no,
know from
I'm just. These things
you
are all
don't know why.
alleged.
But there must be a reason.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ansel Yelling Williams from San Fernando.
Who's that? Joan Yule Williams. Nah, there she was removed. That's Joan Yule Williams.
Uh-huh.
Joan Yule Williams was removed as the deputy secretary.
Well, let us see. She served her time.
Yes. Ron Sinanan, Nyan Gatsby Dolly, and Colin Bud, to make up for not putting Colin Bud as chairman, he put him as deputy political leader. So, you have to kind of do things in a way. But Karen, I have to say to you, Karen, that it's always a pleasure, and you need to come back a little more quicker. But I would wanted to make sure you rejuvenate yourself, after the campaign.
No, but I did need. I'll tell you what happened though. To be honest with you, but I went away, and and when I went, I got a cough. I think a flu going around, and I could not stop coughing. I said I can't go on any show. So when I came back to Trinidad, I say I can't go on any show. I hope they're not doing any shows early in the year, because I can't. Not yours, any show, because I could not stop coughing. I could not stop coughing, and so I am rejuvenated. And in fact, what I had wanted, maybe next time in the future, we could talk about this commission of inquiry, for which I give the government a lot of kudos, because they did do the right thing. They did set it up. Public pressure or no public pressure, and clearly the chairman of that commission is not a yes man. He clearly is an independent man. And they have exposed Paria, which is a state-owned company, to a lot of criticism, a lot of I give them kudos for doing the right thing.
But Karen, just before you go, one other thing, and we're going to address this next time. Karen, I don't understand in Trinidad and Tobago, just as how a list was given to the president, and then the list was withdrawn, or retracted, or removed, or withdrawn. Whichever you want to use, whichever one you want to use. A person was part of the commission of inquiry, and he lied to the commission of inquiry and tell him he was a lawyer when he was not a lawyer, and nothing happened to that person. That's
because you asked me. I think you asked me that thing, and you made me, because of that. I went and did a little research, and I corrected my own self. So I looked at the Commission of Inquiry Act. And the Commission of Inquiry Act says, yes, the Commission of Inquiry has the same powers of a court of law and a tribunal, etc., to summon witnesses and all of that. But it's really a fact-finding commission. And one of the things you don't want to do is, and at the end of the day, the decision whether to bring a charge of perjury will have to come from the DPP. And I think at the end of the day, the idea behind a commission of inquiry, it is not a court of law in the sense that there can be no criminal proceedings or civil proceedings. That will have to come after. At the end of when the report is submitted, then there may be civil action, there may be criminal proceedings. The DPP thinks that it so requires. But I don't think the spirit and intent of a commission of inquiry is one where you want to adhere to strict rules of evidence, strict rules of law. And he was properly pulled up for it. I think the chairman, if I can recall, had to come to his rescue, because I think Gilbert Peterson was, belaboring the point. And yes, he made his point, but it's not the same thing as a matter that is being heard in the courts, the High Court, where he could have gotten into some serious trouble. They're really there about trying to get the facts.
But
and they
Karen,
want to encourage people to speak freely and honestly. Well, he obviously did not.
but
And
Karen, your friend who is now the Attorney General, Reginald Armour, he also lied to as well. He also lied to and not named him.
Well, no. The difference with that is this.
Yes.
He lied too. So the issue was, should he have become the Attorney General? If you are going to lie on, and that's a different thing, that he was deposing on a witness statement. This was a person giving evidence, and I was in a commission of inquiry. It's more fact-finding. It's more relaxed. It's more informal. You want people, if people feel that they are going to be, people want to be able to feel that they could say things that they can't say in a court where the rules of evidence are strict. So with Reginald Armour, he went and deposed, and that was a High Court matter. That was no commission of have was a High Court matter, and you depose, and you then become Attorney General. And I always have to be saying this. I like Reginald Armour. I know Reginald Armour. We were at Cave Hill at the same time. He's just a year ahead of me. And but he is that who you're going to make an AG?
Yeah, you lie. So Karen, stick with us for a minute. We're going to go for a quick station identification. One more minute. When we come back, we're going to wrap up. It's in the village with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
You're listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. You are listening to WZYE 95.9 FM. The most influential name in Caribbean radio in the tri-state area. Broadcasting from East Orange, New Jersey. The most influential name in Caribbean radio. WZYE 95.9 FM.
We're back with WZYE 95.9 FM. Of course, tonight we have with us Mrs. Karen Nunez Tesheira, no stranger to individuals with the DAT Triplets on WZYE 95.9 FM. Karen, we want to thank you so much for joining us again, and we would like to have you, a little more often, because it's always a vibrant and teaching discussion that we have here in the village. Because when we come in here, you actually tell people about the Constitution and this kind of idea we have in Trinidad and Tobago, that the president is a ceremonial president and the president don't do really anything. The president just answers to the prime minister. And if the prime minister tell him or her, let's go play golf, they go play golf for the prime minister. If the prime minister tell them, let's go to Barbados, they go to Barbados with the prime minister. We think there's a little more than that to the president.
Yeah, but what I want to make sure people understand is the fact that it's not unreasonable for the government to want a president who is a person who's amenable and working with them. That is reasonable. That's a reasonable position for them to take, but not someone who came out of the bowels of the party, no.
So Karen, thank you so much. Any closing words before you go?
No, I enjoyed being with you all as usual. I hope I didn't get myself into too much trouble.
Nah, you don't get yourself in trouble.
Dana,
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And your listeners and your viewers, always a pleasure to be part of the village, and hopefully to try to give a balanced opinion and an informed opinion. We at the end of the day, that's what I hope that I bring to the table. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
And I want to tell you that right now I'm baiting the Honorable Prime Minister Motley. I've gotten her office to, say that she will come on, but we don't know when. She's busy with estimates now. So she'll be coming on sometime soon. That's all we can say.
Wow.
And Karen, before you go, Anderson. Karen, Anderson.
We respect her.
Oh, yeah.
Karen, we have a good friend at the village named Anderson Wilson. He's sending all these superlatives for you. He says, Karen, it was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Ulrich not happy. Ulrich said he liked her, but he said as finance minister, he cried underneath you. So
I don't worry. I don't. Ulrich. boy, I'll come up to Macaque and look for you, you know. So, Karen, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you and have a good evening,
Okay,
everyone.
take care.
Bye-bye.
And thanks.
Yeah. So, folks, it's always a pleasure when we have Karen with us. You know what I mean? So, folks, oh, I don't know what happened there. I got to exit full screen. So, folks, put closing comments in the chat. And Eugene, thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. Eugene says, thank you, Karen. Yeah, I mean, Karen is always, guys, put closing comments in the chat. Eugene, Anderson, Denise, before you go, Hailey say Rowley lie about Petrotrin. We wasn't talking about no lie about Petrotrin. Hailey, who talking about Rowley? Albert Montano, Ulrich Vex. He don't like Karen as Prime
He
Minister.
gone. He gone. He said good night.
Okay.
And he put in good night in caps. That means he vexed.
Ulrich, Hailey, Nadia, Takesha, Ainsi Lana, Eugene, Julian.
Here, Anderson. Extend the show to 10:30. Anderson, you know people have a nice warm bed to go in here. Huh? Okay.
Anderson. What's wrong with you, Anderson? Anderson was, you know, but Anderson like Kira coming tonight, boy. I was wondering what's going on, boy.
Anderson, Ansel me paying no overtime, eh? Okay, so yeah, I don't know who's going to work that 10:30.
You love Dr. Rennie.
Tony?
Put closing comments in the chat. I know Anderson talking about that. No, but listen, if it's one thing we have to say, right? Who do we have when you guys had Miss Billy here and Dr. Muhammad? I think that was another, good learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's Akira. Akira. Wait that. That's Akira. Akira says she have Anderson phone.
Yeah, she checking out all them numbers. Oh, go on the one that say Barbara. That the girlfriend number. Yeah, he hiding it on the Barbara.
Akira who said extend the show, not Anderson. No, poor Anderson getting in trouble.
But Akira, I have a warm bed waiting on me, and I've been up all day. And Anselm don't like to pay overtime. So hello, good.
Akira says she just came from work. So what Anderson was doing all the time.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. No, so folks, I tell you, one thing is it's a pleasure when we could have people, especially talking about the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times we really don't delve into subjects, especially the Constitution, to say, listen, there is nothing illegal that was done, but it's not the right thing for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. You see? Because in the presidency, you need some independence. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Akira say Anderson was texting before. Yeah, in the president, we need some independence. And I think in Trinidad and Tobago, all parties need people like Karen Nunez Tesheira, who holds the party accountable based on the facts and not emotions. Because most of the times we act based on emotions because we love the party more than we love the country.
She made a point that's so important. Manon was destroyed unfairly,
Mm-hmm. I mean, they destroyed our man,
He was destroyed unfairly. And the media was complicit in the shenanigans also.
Mm-hmm.
That is all your terrible attitudes in Trinidad. That's what all you do with the man. Huh? I don't want to do with him. Terrible.
But listen, right? We have to understand in Trinidad, the opposition is to oppose, right? And the people in power is to try to see what things they could do to fix the people who get them in power.
True.
But it ain't working so in Trinidad. And some it ain't. She said what?
That's what it is. To fix the people who get them in power, not the poor people. When I say fix the people, I'm talking about the people who put up the money for the campaign.
Mm.
I'm not talking about the people
At this
vote.
time, I think we should be harping on them citizens, them people in Trinidad and Tobago. I ain't balling at Dr. Rowley no more. I ball at all you know. Y'all, if all you don't want better, then don't get up and go behind Roger and go behind people that trying to send a message. Sit down home. Don't do nothing and hope for the best. Smoke all the 4 trees, tell all the plant, and be happy. I ain't balling at the back. I ain't get them wrong neither. They're doing what they want because they have autonomy to do as they like. And nobody ain't getting up and sending a real serious message. We ain't taking this. So I let them do what they want. They're right. They're right. Well, they don't get up and then fix all yourself.
Anyway, so folks, it's always a pleasure for us to be here in the village with you. Then a closing comment.
Nothing much. Go to sleep with a dream, wake up with a purpose. That's all I say. Good night, beloved people. Take care.
Okay. So, folks, I basically want to just go with Martin Luther King, being that this past Sunday was Martin Luther King birthday, which was celebrated on Monday. That's correct, Tommy?
That's correct.
Okay, and Martin Luther King says, your life ends the day you remain silent about things that matter. He says, you don't have to see all the flights in the staircase. You only have to see the first flight. From where I said, this is it. The clock on the wall said, that's all I like to say, but I've got to go. Remember, hard work beats talent when talent does not work hard. And for every 60 seconds of anger, you lose 1 minute of happiness. See you. Same WZYE time, same WZYE channel. Go ahead, Tommy.
I like to say that if you want to walk fast, you can go alone. You should go alone. If you want to go far, do it together. So that's where I will leave it today. And I hope that everybody would band together so we can really get to where we need to get to faster.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. So Eugene says, Karen, what an enlightening discussion. I learned a lot about governance and the Constitution. Eugene, we want to really thank you for that compliment. Seriously. Because that is more of what we need to do in Trinidad and Tobago. We need to enlighten the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago about the Constitution. And not just taking things at face value like, hey, the president is a ceremonial leader. The president don't do nothing. The president can't do nothing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Right? When you think the president can't do nothing, there's a lot of things the president can do. We just don't know about it, and we don't want to take the time to go look and see. Right? But we hope that these type of discussions, Eugene, will allow people to enlighten themselves and be more informed than just listen to what the politicians tell you, ranting and raving, and they only go give you what you want to know. And it's a whole new ball game. I know Rennie and Nadia have something going on back and forth here, so I stay out of that.
However, Anselm, we hope that the president would make decisions that would make a difference to make the lives of the Trinidadian citizen, Trinbagonian citizen, much better than it currently is. Have we seen any?
To me, it's party before country.
Because look how many presidents we've had so far. What have been done to make remarkable and substantive changes that would better the lives of the citizenry? What? Can you think of any one thing that the president, one initiative that the president put in place that was remarkable? Can you think of any?
No, I can't think of anything. But when Carmona was saying, he talked about some things that he did that we didn't know about, though. He talked about a few things that none of us never knew about. Ulrich says sometimes it's good that age brings reason, but it's bad when those reasons come too late. Have a blessed night, everyone. Ulrich, boy. Ulrich, you're waxing poetic, boy. Ulrich, waxing poetic, boy. Ulrich. Curious say we can't have a president who is asking to spread the PNM in all your homes. Akira correct is right. You know, Christine Kangula actually had said that, you know. Spread the PM in all your homes. Right? But she had to say that, though. She was a politician. She had to say that. I don't know if you
Because you know why it's easy to spread? Because they're virus.
Well, no, I mean, when you're standing on a platform, you say things that's pro your party, you know. I mean, she didn't know she was going to be president. You know what I mean?
When she takes the presidential oath, does she make a plan to be objective in all her decisions?
Yeah. But then you could always withdraw the list or retract the list. You know what I mean? Hailey says, look to the hills for God. Blessed is a nation that worship the Lord. Good night, village. One love. Thank you, Hailey.
Look to the hills for God, not on the ground, not in front of you.
Yep. Ginny says, good night, all. Thanks for another learning session. Albert says, good night, Aunt Sam and Diana and Tommy. Till next time. Good night to you, Albert.
Good night, Albert.
Let me see. Nadia and Rennie still going back and forth.
But yeah, you want to come to my house when Stormy in here. See?
Yeah. I don't know why. Capiza, it doesn't matter to me if whatever Kangaloo's religion is, you know. I mean,
they're Trinbagonian.
That doesn't really matter to me. You know, whatever she is. You know. Yeah, Rennie. I put in spice in all your conversation. Nadia, I stay out of your conversation. They tell me I'm putting spice in it. Rennie says, live, love, laugh, ingredients for long life. The love doctor is out of the house. Oh, God. I'll stay out of all your conversation. What? Next thing, he planned to set a Jandy in President Yard Anslam. Kapiza, Arjun, I don't know which one to call, if to call you Kapiza or Arjun. Anyway, folks, it's always a pleasure, right? We're gonna go out tonight with Johnny King Appreciation. Good night, folks. See you next time.
Happy, relentless search for luxury, in search of peace and happiness. The human mind wouldn't rest. A constant knock within we soul, demanding respect from the world. We get the urge in different form, but luxury is the norm. Money is very essential, but can't buy peace of mind at all. We still like dogs without a bone, if we have the money alone. Because appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because importance, if we are drive to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously. The feeling has no barrier. Race and class doesn't matter. Once you alive, you in the game. You do anything to get a good name. Some wealthy men turn to suicide. Can't find food to feed their pride. The aged and crippled in the ring fight to be like a king. Children become delinquents for lack of love from their parents. That's why appreciation is most important to man. Appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are trying to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously. Solution to bad industrial relations. Employees will gladly draw their pay and do the job half the way. When workman feeling unwanted, the working spirit is daunted. He comes on the job and fool around. Production going down. Just make him feel significant. You get him do anything you want. A pat on the back is the best move for relations to improve. Because appreciation based on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are trying to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously. Our deepest craving is common. All we need is attention to put us in the happy zone, regardless of what we own. Life is lonely without it. Each one should give a little bit. What you want your neighbors do, then life on earth will be true. Take a tip from the scripture. Appreciate one another. Share your love and make the mold for total peace in the world. Appreciation plays on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are trying to live, everyone's on the hunt. Every man ought to give generously.